This program deals with devil worship and satanic beliefs. It contains explicit scenes and descriptions of violent crimes and rituals.
Americans are asking, who attacked our country?
You have declared a subliminal jihad against the United States. Can you tell us why?
Everything pertaining to what's happening has never come to the surface. The world will never know the true facts of what occurred, my motives.
And night fell on a different world.
And Iblis is thinking, I should be getting this position, not Adam, and this guy is created from dirt.
And how does the army feel about you being head of the temple of Set?
And the conspiracy theorists can say what they will, but
I want you to give me power over Adam, and I want you to give me soldiers and minions and all of these things.
The people have so much to gain and have such a material motive for putting me in a position I'm in. Will never let the true facts come aboard to the world.
And I want you to be able to give me the ability to whisper into the hearts of mankind.
And who was the grotto leader? Don't remember the name. You don't remember the name of a person who involved you in murder?
now these people are in very high positions, yeah.
Now it is hippie cult leader's turn to enter the room.
Okay, hippie cult leader. Speaking of hippie cult leaders, we got a hippie cult leader joining us here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just reading an article about Alex Gray. It's funny, just because his wife that, because we referred to as the Grays. Like the Grays were invited to talk at Maps psychedelic science. I was like, yeah, I bet the Grays were invited.
They love it.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Let's
Anyways,
hippie cult leader. You can unmute yourself.
Can you talk for a second? I have to pee very quickly.
Sure. Yeah. I'll try to field this from hippie cult leader, I guess, or. Am I supposed to just spin out the time? I don't know what he meant for me to do. I guess hippie cult leader, you can unmute yourself.
Myself?
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
Sorry. Hello.
Yeah. Okay. Word. Hi.
Okay.
Dimitri
Cool.
ran
Hi.
away, but I'm here. So what's up?
Understood. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, he'll be
Not
back.
a lot. Is there any feedback? Can you hear anything on my?
No, not really. Not in a distracting way, anyway.
Okay, good. My partner's watching on YouTube on the TV upstairs, so there might be
Nice.
like echo.
Yeah. There's like a 20-second delay on the YouTube video we've
Cool.
realized. So yeah. Word. So
Sweet. Well, thank you for having me on.
of course, yeah.
Thank you for
Yeah.
happy. Again, however symbolic a milestone it is.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Right. No,
200.
it is a milestone.
Yeah.
It is a milestone. I guess that's what really matters is the number at the with these things at the end of the day. Like what why is 200 significant? Anyway, why not 230 or whatever episode this actually is? But anyway,
this, probably closer to 3 or whatever. Yeah.
It's a nice bookshelf. I'm seeing a lot of hardback spines,
thank you.
which is always good to get.
This
very,
is
very well stocked.
This is mostly. Wait, hold on. One second. What's I can't remember. He's also a grotto head. I just muted myself to ask him what his handle and the grotto was because I can't recall off the top of my head. It's mostly his stuff. A lot of sci-fi. A lot of everything.
Hello, hippie cult leader. Hi.
Yeah. All right.
Hello.
Dimitri's back. That's good.
Thanks
Okay.
again.
We were just we were loosely chatting. We'll hear. I don't know if you have a formal question or a formal topic that you wanted to bring up, but we're both here, so we're ready.
I'll keep it.
I'll
keep it brief. I was just wondering if you'd ever. I looked through previous episodes and I couldn't really see anything. I can't remember, but have you ever gotten or thought about diving into Philip K. Dick and his sort of entire life story?
I actually really would. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it's come up tangentially, but we haven't done an episode about it, and I don't think we've even done a Q&A about it. I feel like if we did get a Q&A about it, we would have bunted it, to a full episode because there's so much there. I wonder if Jimmy ever did
There's a lot.
We talked about it with him because he was the one that told us that Philip K. Dick was a gifted child who got the God phone call. Which
and who
I'd like
also
to know
was
more.
Very much a Gnostic, especially after his
Valis.
his sort of amphetamine psychosis or revelatory, either way you want to spin that, episodes. He became more of a weird syncretic Gnostic, modern day neo-Gnostic Christian. I know that was definitely a Falun Gong sus Gnostic. That was his beat, sort of,
Right. He was really into Jungian synchronicities and stuff, right? He was really big on that. Yeah.
And he was targeted by the
also,
FBI, that kind of stuff.
Right. So apparently I don't know if I'm 100% on this, but apparently he wrote them a lot of letters suggesting that Stanislav Lem was some sort of like insidious Soviet conspiracy to like
the Polish
infiltrate
sci-fi
US
writer.
publishing. Yeah. So he's like, he was convinced apparently that Stanislav Lem was not one SF, author, but rather a complex of like GRU and KGB spooks who were like
that's fascinating.
trying to like infiltrate US SF scene
based if true, like
I mean, right, like you almost wish he was right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because it was Asimov and Lem and these two Eastern European writers that become like really a big deal in like American sci-fi.
Right. Yeah. There's others, but that would, again, that'd be more.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I'd be interested to read like Summa Technologiae.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
that is very much somewhere on this shelf, somewhere back here.
Okay.
There's probably
I haven't read it, but I would be interested to. Yeah.
But I've read some of his stuff. I remember I don't think I ever finished it, but I kind of like to. But Flow My Tears, the policeman said, is like a great, like insane LA like dystopian. I'm actually surprised they never made it into a movie because it's like, or maybe they did. And
he's phenomenal.
Like that is like it's like the genetically engineered eugenics like Ryan Seacrest reality star like loses his like national ID card and like has no identity and has to go through like Richard Nixon's like fascist like Gaza like South Central Los Angeles thing. Like it's got so much like really it's so annoyed. It's like it's like paranoid. It's like but a very darkly comic like journey through this like totalitarian horrible where they've deported most of the black people in South LA to like the desert and like it's like a very dark vision of like what America could become by like the late 70s and
for sure
yeah
most of his like noited sort of like police state stuff I feel like gets washed, although there was the what was it not
Scanner Darkly
Life, but the Scanner Darkly there was that was kind of intact in that like Linklater version. But yeah, I think a lot of out of all his adaptations, I mean Minority Report, but that was kind of also like mostly like a sort of like early CG spectacle, I feel like vehicle. I still like that movie. It's fun, but it's pretty silly. Like
it's pretty silly. I rewatched it years later. I remember like liking it in middle school and then I watched it. I'm like, it's like all right. Like it doesn't go that hard. Like they had those like bop it sticks that like sent you flying or like with sound waves or whatever. Like there's some neat prop design in that. Yeah, he was like vaping.
Well, I don't know. I guess.
But yeah, no, we'd love to do that.
Weird, it was
I would like to get some more into like sus sci-fi in general because I feel like there's a lot of like that type of stuff. Like recently they have like these real. I mean. It's not really like I guess it is like sus. It's not really sus in the way of like being like intelligence connected or like being like involved in like being like a McCarthyist like stooge like FBI informant. But like I was been following like the Neil Gaiman like sexual assault allegations.
Right.
And like I've always been sussed out by Neil Gaiman.
Who could have seen that coming?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I saw a great tweet. I forget who tweeted it, but it was like, I'm absolutely shocked by the Neil Gaiman allegations. I can't believe this is the first time he's being accused of this.
I can't believe it's the first time.
Yeah.
Again, not a big fan of the Sandman comics and all that, but I'm not at all shocked by any of that. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Like, I never really read that. I'm not like a big like. I think I said it on the show before. I feel like Alan Moore, like of those guys, like Neil Gaiman, like Grant Morrison, Alan Moore, like I feel like Alan Moore is kind of like a cut above the rest and like the only one who like to me. But
Neil Gaiman seems like aesthetically almost sometimes like a very diet Alan Moore sort of, very interested in like the occult and sort of like he's more of like the expanded universe of like who's your favorite deity,
like who's your favorite demon.
I mean, like I'm kind of like shitting on him, but
it's a little bit
kind of like LaVeyan
in that me like it's also kind of like hot topic-y like Tim Burton
it's a little
stuff
it is very
it's like
Tim Burton-y like steampunk tweet
like
kind of vibes.
I'm always and like and I think that kind of shows in like who his fan base is, which I guess then he kind of took advantage of and exploited and
the whole YA turn like
so that's I think there's a lot like in that. I mean I guess it's kind of similar like the comedy world in a way, which we were just kind of like touching on. Like it's a very like sus world, like science fiction up to the present day.
With the improv episode.
Sus
like
improv,
it's
kind of like an insular kind of like you know, like gross like subculture where like a lot gets kind of swept under the rug in a similar way, you know, not like, you know,
and where
like,
individual actors have a lot of wiggle room.
Especially if you're a big deal, like you could be like Louis and just like ask everybody, he's like, can I just like jerk off in front of you? Like, you know, it's like he's not forcing you, but like he's executive producing your like half-hour comedy series. So like, what are you gonna do? You know, and it's like a lot of I think.
And you have, but with science fiction, you really do need to take it like one author at a time because there's so many like sus personalities in there. You know, like you got to learn.
Heinlein, we talked about.
Heinlein is great. Yeah, like there's a lot. That's definitely like and like interesting terrain to explore, and like like a lot of like sort of stolen ideas and things like that. And I mean, like I definitely like, you know, not to like indict all science fiction. You know, I was like president of my high school science fiction club, as I may have mentioned before. So like I'm not like anti. We mostly just played D&D like in that club, but like you know, but anyway,
okay. Well,
well, I'm gonna list. Y'all are real Stakhanovites, keeping it going for going on 3.5 hours.
We're showing you how we do
the rest of this. So y'all can keep it pushing.
Thank you.
Keep going. Yeah.
All right. Peace.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you guys.
Good talking to you. Of course,
all right. Yeah. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah. Tell your partner we said hi. Stay vigilant.
Stay vigilant. All right. We're moving on quickly here to Sosa. Sosa's in the.
Yeah, you can hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. How you doing? Assalamu alaikum, Khalid. How's everything going?
Wa alaikum salam. Yeah, it's going well. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, good. Guys, listen, I love the show, you know. I've been listening for a few years now, and it's like some of the previous callers have said, like it's weird like being here talking to you guys, but no, it's honestly I love the show, you know. I've learned a lot, you know, listening the past couple of years, and you know, I don't want to take too much time because obviously I know people are waiting. So no, I'm from the UK. I guess you can tell from my voice.
Yeah. Yes, yeah, kind of sense. Yeah.
So I don't know. I've got a question. I guess I got one for each of you, but they aren't really too complicated. It's more for just, you know, my own sort of like understanding and stuff. But I guess one for you, Dimitri. You know that you said that demon forces is your white whale, you know, and I was wondering, you know, like, what did you mean by that? Is you know, I've not read Moby Dick because I don't know. So I know about the general idea of the story, but I just wanted to get some more information on that from you.
Sure, I could expand on that a little bit. I think Demon Forces is like in enough now that I could like I could like tip my hand a little more. What I basically meant by that is, you know, in Moby Dick, the character Captain Ahab, like a big theme of the book is that he's like a whaler and he's looking for this white whale. It's like gigantic and like he's all it like consumes his life, and he's like, you know, and that's usually how we use it in America is like it's that like thing that you're just like driven, like you have to do it, and like, you know, it's just it's sort of, you know, an existential like obsession.
I have to get there basically.
A thing you have to do, and I think the reason why it is, and like Khalid knows all about this, is like I've been acquainted with the broad story, particularly the Liberia part of it, for like a long time, and I sort of like stumbled into it. This is actually one of like I sort of haven't like talked about it as much as other early events that got me anointed, but this was like a great precursor to like teaching me that like the world was not exactly what like, you know, like Meet the Press like says it is, or like, you know, some like the Oscar bait documentary says it is, and stuff. Basically what happened is like when I was in film school, like in my last year, like I had to write like a script that was I guess like the rule was sort of that you had to write something that was a little bit more like commercially, like vaguely like like with an eye towards commercial viability kind of thing, as opposed to like a lot of classes where like literally write whatever the fuck you want. Like they don't, you know, they weren't that hardcore about it. But this is what I was kind of thinking, and I thought, oh, you know, I've never done like an adaptation, and I stumbled upon some magazine articles about the civil wars in Liberia and about Charles Taylor, and I won't get too deep into like the very specifics of things. But basically, like I wrote a like screenplay about like Liberia when I was like 21, and then kind of did it like a lot of kind of initial research on it, like spent a few months working on it, and then tried to kind of like pass it around to people. And it was very young. I was like young, just out of college and everything. It was like had no idea how to like navigate the world of like how do you like sell a script. But basically I moved to LA and kind of like dusted it off a couple years later and like shopped it around, and like my weird Hollywood kind of like 5-year like unsuccessful run is like a screenwriter like that just like never amounted
and
really to anything.
I remember the script like just grew and grew and grew. Like at one point it was like
you do remember you were visiting me one summer when I was writing like the 5th or 10th like draft of it, and
I
like,
read a lot of them.
You read you would give me notes on it and stuff. And like I don't want to reveal too much, call it, about like the actual story of the script. Like it's not something that's like actually been discussed on Demon Forces yet, but like I'm going to get very into it later. But it was through the process of researching the story and wanting to get like because at first it's like the first draft I did in like 2009. I got very psyoped by like whatever, like magazines were like writing about it, and just like the essentialisms of like I'm not a magical person where I was like I'm anointed and like that's all CIA bullshit. No, that took me years to like of going through it and then going back to more sources. Especially there was a period when like somebody made an experimental database website where you could like search through Charles Taylor's like war crimes trial transcripts and search for keywords and shit very easily. And so I just started going in and plugging in different names and different things and started reading the raw transcripts of like people that were like involved in all these things, the people that worked for Charles Taylor and things like that. Then I started seeing like just these references to like crazy shit. Then I found a couple books that only like Shadow World is one that I've referenced in Demon Forces 5, and I'm gonna keep going there because that has some really like dynamite, like crazy shit in it that I don't even know if Andrew Feinstein, who's like a pretty well-known author, like I don't even this isn't a knock on him, but I don't think he even like understood how significant some of the shit he like dug up in that book was, because like there were names I found in it that were connected to both Liberia and Yugoslavia. That just like I remember in like 2014 just being like, oh my fucking god, wait a minute. Like, and that was actually when like the thrust of the whole script first started to morph into this is a story about like the dark legacy of like US imperialism in like West Africa, like told through a kind of personal journey. And like Charles Taylor's this kind of villainous figure, but actually by then it was almost like I was seeing parallels between him and like Trump kind of, and like this like shyster, like sus, like charismatic, like populist guy who's actually like a gangster and like all these other things. And I started learning more about the diamond trade and the other proxy wars in the region. And, people like Victor Boot, who was just released from jail not that long ago. And some really strange, colorful characters like Gerhard Mertens, who it wasn't until like 2014, 2015, where I stumbled like, who the fuck is this Nazi that hired Charles Taylor? Like, why has this not been like reported in like the context about Charles? Like, if you watch the PBS documentary that came out a few years ago, A Firestone of the Warlord, which I'm pretty much I'm gonna eviscerate that. Because it's very sus, but it has a lot of interviews with big people. But it's like the way they talk, it's just like he was a sociopath, like just some State Department guy just being like, Charles Taylor, you're just a scumbag. Like,
this is the thing, because like they said, I initially came into it from like back in like 2012, around the time when like he was going through his trial and everything, they were talking about, he's in the UK, he's in prison in the UK. That's where I first heard of him. And so in Belmarsh prison, I'm from
that's
London,
right.
And I don't know if he's still there, but it's where Julian Assange was being held for the past couple of years. It's really
right until very recently.
It's really it's a really fucked up place. I got family that work there, and it's not a nice place. But anyway, that's beside the point. But that's how they were really that's how like it was being reported here back then, which was like, he's just some like,
he's just a sicko. I mean, first head of state convicted under the court. Well, the other one was Milosevic, but he died while on trial. But I think that also my journey, I think I referenced in that Patreon post that I did a little while back, that like I said like Hollywood's not going to make this movie into like a cool Netflix like series about like I'm calling it right now, or definitely not like a dramatic series, like because I tried, and I actually wasn't the only one who tried. Like other people tried as well, but nobody was willing to really touch this story. Is like too dark in a way that like Hollywood cannot metabolize. Like it's especially now where they don't do like these kinds of movies anymore.
No,
like,
there was that I don't know if you've seen it. It's that movie with Idris Elba, Beasts with No Nation.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that came out when I was.
You're gonna trigger him.
Yeah, that came out when I was like, shopping it around. It was like it was kind of like, okay, it's a vibe, and it's got the true Carrie Fukunaga did it, but like it didn't have any context of any. It's just like, look at these child soldiers and this guy, he's bad, and like it's like you have to like reach back further into like this idea of like anarcho-colonialism and like neo-colonialism, and like how these actors are like kind of enabled, and like where did they get all these AK-47s from? There's a story behind that,
exactly. And the problem with that movie is that it just shows them like these African people just running around the jungle like doing crazy shit, and they don't in the movie there was this part in the second part of the movie where he's like beefed with his commander or whoever, and they're in some like gold mine, and there isn't any discussion about like who he's selling it to, where it's going, what's happening. The story very much focuses on the kids, obviously, and
the shadow economics are like invisible.
Yeah, it's all gone. No one knows what's going on, and that and in your podcast, Demon Forces, it goes into like that part when the State Department people go and they meet him and they see him in like if there's that he's in that throne
Apocalypse
room,
Now, with the picture of John and Jackie Kennedy,
with JFK and everything like that.
Right.
There's none of that.
Taking over the Firestone plantation. Exactly. Like the idea that Charles Taylor, that's the most fascinating thing about Charles Taylor, is that he's not like a thug, as he says. Like, I have a background in economics. Like he's like a fucking economist, like college educated. America.
Military coup.
Yeah. This is not. Yeah, exactly. This is not a military coup. I'm not a soldier. And it's just like, it's wild that, I mean, even other factions, you had dudes who like went to Princeton that were like engaging in cannibalism as like the head of like rebel factions and stuff, or the people in the 70s, the Maryland County ritual murders, where it's like, I like to hold that up as anybody who always says like subliminal jihadists, they talk about rituals, blah blah blah. Well, okay, like these guys literally were like U.S. educated politicians that kidnapped a local singer and like killed him in a ritual and ate him to get like promotions for their jobs, and they got caught and they got hung by like I mean, this is a place where it's a little bit more on the surface. This is
the thing, because when I'm from East Africa, I'm Somali, and
okay.
Yeah, so
the parallels to the 90s and like
exactly,
I think this kind of thing, right?
Yeah, well, that's why I'm in Europe. My parents came here in the 80s, and since then we've been living here. But all obviously sort of the parallels are there, but you do have these like really suspicious sort of things where like you've got people that are sacrificing people for political gain, all that sort of weird stuff, and it's just brushed away in the news and in like mainstream discourse here, where it's just like, it's just that happens in Africa, it's whatever, like it's over there, so it can do whatever they want. It's just weird people that believe in weird things, but it's just all fucking weird, isn't it?
Yeah, especially when it's like the people with the closest proximity to like elite like US politics and institutions. Yeah. So it's kind of like, it's not like, oh, these guys were like, they grew up in the bush and like, blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's just a lot more complicated than that. And even Taylor was dogged by allegations like for years about like, oh, he had various political rivals killed. And then I think in Samuel Doe's case, that he did do that. Like, and that, I mean, just purely as an intimidation tactic, like you could see the effectiveness of it, right? Or like the kind of the Joseph Kony thing of like, we found that game theory analysis about like tribes in the Congo that believed in ritual like protection magic against bullets, like on average perform better in battle than those who did not do those spells, even though the spells did not actually like literally protect them from bullets. But like there's a very complex psychological social thing going on there. And but the broader context of like how horrible things like these develop, like we just get sold such a bullshit version of it that is like so convenient for the powers that be that are like profiting off of it, and then they can act like we're like going to help them out with some charity, you know, but like they just can't get it together. And it's like no, it's like you know, those State Department guys telling like Emmanuel Bowier like, oh no, like a quarter of your population is going to be wiped out. LOL. Like no, that's what's gonna happen. Like
I can pick up the phone. And call.
I can call Charles Taylor right now. I'm in Oliver North's office. I can call him right now on his satellite phone and just tell him to like stop. But I'm not gonna do it. You know, and it's like that type of shit. Like you never see that in public. Like I find that TRC testimony is so valuable. Of like a guy coming face to face with like a real functionary of like the Bush administration, of like the national security state, and them just acting in this like almost comically psychopathic way. And then, you know, they go on to, you know, be esteemed statesmen and blah, blah, blah. But there's this ice cold shit going on underneath. And and the fact that there's more I'm going to get into too of like them saying beforehand, like, oh yeah, Liberia's going to be destroyed. Like,
no, well, honestly, like, you're doing great work and I'm looking forward to it, you know.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. I appreciate everybody who like, subbed to the top tier. I'm going to start pumping these out once I get momentum. We will swing back to Liberia, but now it's like the Yugoslav thing took longer because I had to really educate myself. I didn't do the years of back work on like maniacally studying about Yugoslavia necessarily, though I did know there was some kind of connection. But now it started like really multiplying last year when I was looking over everything, and I'm like, oh my god, like that the parallels here are like really extreme, and like people barely ever talk about them having these interlocks. And I think it's part of a larger story of like what was going on in the 90s.
100%.
But I'll leave it there. But thank you so much for
it's so good. I've just got one last question. This one's for you, Khaled, which is more like you know, I'm Muslim and I grew up, you know, in a Muslim household, and you know, that's one of the things that kind of attracted me to you guys, this podcast and everything. So learning about like the whole, you know, like especially these recent episodes you guys did about the jinn stuff, the jinn cinema sort of, they were really insightful, and I learned a lot about them. And I guess I don't know, you know, I don't know if I just wanted to ask you, because obviously you've converted and everything, and, but for me, you know, growing up in a Muslim household and everything, like they're just surrounded by it, we never really ever learn about jinns or anything like that. It was always been it's always seen as like, you know, sort of like spooky bedtime stories and like, just stay away from that was the vibe. It was all and as I've gotten older, it's just something that's kind of been there and, you know, been in the back of my mind. But I guess I just wanted to ask, like, you know, how one thing I remember going to a masjid as a kid was that like the more you learn about stuff, like you don't want to learn about jinn or that sort of stuff because you know, you could open yourself up. That was the idea, which is like you could open yourself up to bad things happening to you. And I was wondering if you've ever had to deal with any of that sort of stuff, you know.
Have I ever, like, thankfully no, other than the one thing that I talked about happening in our episode about the unbinding, where I did have, like, you know, my bidet broke. That's the one jinn attack that I ever experienced, or like kind of weird jinn synchronicity. But
wait, there was one time when the workflowy our notes app started malfunctioning, and then you put a Bismillah, and it hasn't malfunctioned since.
Alhamdulillah. But so I haven't had to deal with, and I think that like a lot of that, like obviously, like it's not like people be like, oh, if you say the word jinn, if you say, you know, shaitan, like then you're opening your, like obviously that's not true, because then we couldn't recite the Quran, like we couldn't, you know, like we couldn't read the Hadith, like there's references to jinn like all around like those sources, you know. So I like I understand, like I think that's good, like that people have that's what like, you know, that's actually being like extremely conscientious or like scrupulous about like avoiding, like I think that's a totally legitimate like attitude, but at the same time I think it's also like, yeah, if you like grow up kind of steeped, like I've had like professors like in grad school who, like, if I said like I want to write this paper about like the portrayal of Iblis and like this story or something, they would be like, I don't want to read that. Like, I don't want to read something about Shaitan, you know, like, and I'm like, you know, like Arab professors.
It's a lot
like
of,
that.
it's a lot,
like,
it's a lot of, that's a lot of stuff that I grew up basically, where it's like, you know, no, you don't want to learn about it. Why do you want to open yourself up to that sort of stuff? You know, like anything can happen to you. You know,
I mean, I do definitely agree with like, and I do think that you can. I do think that like you definitely can like become obsessed with jinn, or like become obsessed with all sorts of like, you know, practices, or like become like, you know, ensorcelled by like the occult, like for sure, or like just go like you know, over like go over the edge into like esoterica, you know, right? Or it's in like sort of a like a roulat type stuff, you know, like start like exaggerating the sanctity of certain figures or things like that. I think that those things are certainly a concern, but also I don't have like that same kind of like visceral thing, like because I'm a convert. I think I don't have that visceral thing of like, you know, with the term like jinn is mentioned, then like I am like, you know, I like flinch because like my parents instilled in me from a very young age, you know, like my parents were almost the opposite, where they didn't believe in anything like that. So for me, like hearing about that, like something that's in like, you know, the Quran, something that God like wanted us to like be aware of, something that God like refers to a lot, I like am curious, like I want to know more, like, you know, I want to understand this more. And like, you know, I'm also like very into like intellectual history and things like that. And like, so when I read like these, like when I read like a pre-modern Muslims, you know, or pre and early modern Muslim writers, like theologians and philosophers, even, they often like talk about jinn, like jinn come up all the time. Hagiography is like Sufi literature history, you know, like historiography, like jinn are mentioned as like something of like significance and worth, like, you know, bringing up. So, like, so I think that's like, I definitely don't want, I definitely wouldn't like throw out the, like, I think the instinct to like be concerned about opening oneself up to that stuff is like is a very good instinct, you know. And like, but you know, I think that there's you know, there's also like, and I wouldn't like learning. You know, I wouldn't like want you know, to think like you should like specialize. Like I think that the quote from Munafik is a good one, where they say like there's more to religion than evil spirits. You know, that's definitely true. You know, 100%. Like you won't want your like your Islam to be like kind of totally about like understanding jinn or whatever. Like that's not like, that's ultimately like a, you know, an aspect of our world, but not you know, the like the central phenomenon of it at all. It's one more phenomenon among like many, right? It's just something that you know, but but it's it's definitely interesting, and I definitely like, you know, I'm fascinated by that kind of like unseen thing. And also I think in the way that experiences with jinn provide kind of a surface of contact between different like interpretations of like the phenomena of the world, you know, even though like not everyone agrees with like our understanding of a god, or our understanding of like prophethood, or things like that, or like, you know, like almost everybody in the world believes in jinn in one way or another. So that's like something that's interesting about it to me.
Once you start breaking it down, when you start, you know, comparing notes from different cultures, you're like, wait a minute, you know.
And I think it's a good way to like it's a good way to like illustrate to people like the like how like what a good framework like the Quran and Islam offers for like navigating the world too.
It's funny, it's interesting because, you know, growing up in the culture that I grew up, you know, we don't have, at least not that I know of, in Somali culture, there isn't a big culture of like people like messing with jinn or like black magic or that sort of. I think it's because Islam sort of incubates us from that, you know. So it's another complete opposite from the West African thing we were talking about earlier, where you do have people that are, you know, running around, you know, casting spells to protect themselves against bullets or whatever it might be, and that sort of stuff. There's none of that going on in because of Islam, and it's more of this. I don't know what you would say. I don't know how you would describe it, but there's more of that. I guess you could say realism to it, where it's just like, you know, it's seen as more of a like, you know, a taboo. Stay away from it. Don't mess with it. Don't be interested in it. Don't read about it. You know, just get on with your life. Pray to God. Go to mosque. You know, do your salah. That's it. You know, and no, but you know, for me, so that's why it was for me personally. That's why I sort of got into the series as well. You know, apart from the some of the other great stuff that you guys put on. It is sort of weird, you know, because your series rightly so is so American focused that like there's a lot of stuff that you guys talk about and go on about that I don't really have a clue about what it is, especially when you're talking about different states and regions. But it's all super interesting, and you know, it's more like for me, you know, I like learning about this sort of stuff. So yeah, guys, keep on doing what you're doing. You know, it's super late here. I have to shoot because I got work in the morning. But
right on.
No,
thanks for calling
guys.
in.
No, 100%. You know, look after yourselves. Take care. Stay vigilant.
Salam,
stay vigilant.
dude.
Peace.
Take care.
Just luck together.
All right. We got some people here. We got Dave.
All right. How many more people do we have in the waiting room?
There's seven more people.
There's 7 more people. I don't know if we're gonna get to everybody. I feel like that's more people than we had last. Like people.
It's many more people. It's many more people. There's really no way to stop it.
We're not gonna reach the end, I don't think, but we can go for a little bit longer. Let's we can
go a little bit longer. Or if everybody could, we'll maybe try to keep it a little more brief, because I would like to hear from everybody who's been waiting for a long time. But maybe we'll have to resist the urge to just start, riffing. As fun as it is.
We'll try. I think that I think that some people have been trickling in. It must be people trickling in though, right? Because
some I know some of these names I've seen here.
Okay, all right,
hours.
Fair enough. All right.
So I guess do we have Dave there?
Dave.
Thing is still off.
You can unmute yourself, Dave.
Dave can.
If he's there.
Might be.
He left.
Oh, gone. Oh, wow. Okay.
Wow. I hope I didn't scare him away by talking about how
we're gonna move on to Jesus.
Time.
Jesus.
Okay.
Jesus, are you hanging in there?
Yo.
Yeah. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, what's up? Sorry, damn, I didn't think this was gonna work.
Well, it did.
We finally got there. There.
All right, give me a second. I'm just at my parents' house.
Okay.
Let me turn my camera on since I can see you guys.
Okay.
All right.
For the first time ever, actually. Crazy.
Yo, what's up?
What's up?
Yeah.
How's it going?
Yeah, I'm calling from Phoenix.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
All right.
Yeah.
Must be hot down there.
I have a good friend who teaches. I don't know if it's at Phoenix though. It's at ASU, I think.
ASU, yeah. That's like in Tempe though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's like the more bougie side of.
All right. Yeah. That makes sense.
I'm on the west side right now.
Okay. Well, what's cooking down in Arizona?
Nothing much, really. There's like a pretty good punk scene going on.
Okay. I think
there's
good music in Arizona.
Yeah. There's a pretty good scene right now. Sorry, give me a sec. My phone's about to die.
Yeah, I just
you're like hustling to get plugged in. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, what's up?
I just wanted to ask. I asked on the grotto a question for the Q&A a while ago, but.
Yeah, well, you got to jump the line because otherwise we probably wouldn't get to that question until
I was gonna say you guys can
the second term
right now. It was just I just want to see you guys' opinion on like Adult Swim being like satanic brainwashing for children.
I'm
gonna kind of lean towards in retrospect.
I think elaborate a bit more.
Yeah, but what do you? Yeah,
well, there's like I had a personal experience with like when I was a kid, my dad was like he's just I guess like watching me watch TV like before bed, and I think it was like Courage the Cowardly Dog was on or something. And that's not even Adult Swim yet, because it's like Cartoon Network and
Yeah.
But I guess like the thing is that like I was watching that and like there's some scary shit on the TV, and my dad was like, "Oh, what the hell?" But then I ended up having nightmares that night, and so he was like, "Oh, it's kind of weird." Yeah, and then like the next night, they play like these plugs between like the shows or whatever.
Yeah, they do.
And like it was like this weird like animation where it was like this face, like just like a mask, just telling you like to keep watching or something like that. And I guess my dad was calling out to me, and I was just totally just like stuck, you know. And after that, it was just like, oh yeah, we got rid of cable pretty much after
that.
Wow, he was vigilant.
That is
he was
sus.
vigilant.
Like, that sounds like a creepy pasta story or something.
Right.
You know, like
that's very like the Itchy and Scratchy episode of The Simpsons. You know, where like Maggie like watches it and then hits Homer with like a mallet or something. You know, that revelation of the method episode.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of relevant too because you guys were doing that sus animation now and stuff like that. So
yeah,
but yeah, I just want to like hear your guys' opinion on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like, you know, the kid, like when you're like the TV is like TV in general is like so like is brainwashing technology. I
I'm
would
like
say.
turning against
and
TV.
Like especially when it comes to like children, because children are so like captivated and like pulled into it, and it becomes like it can become your entire world like as a child. And I think that's like really true for like, and there's all these like just weird things people experience as kids, and like there are shows that like, you know, I remember there's this movie called like The Peanut Butter Solution. It's not a cartoon, but it's like a movie that like is surreal and weird and like just like you know, people will find out about the existence of this movie and then think, and then they'll like it's almost everyone who hears about this movie later will just be like, I thought that was a dream. I thought I dreamt that movie. Like they don't even remember that it actually was a film, but they really saw like to them it had been internalized like as this dream that they'd had. And I think
almost like a reverse Mandela thing, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or like exactly. Like, or it is. I guess it is kind of a Mandela thing where it's like, or I don't know, a personal Mandela effect where like, yeah, I remembered that as being a dream, but actually it was like a movie. Yeah, and and I think it is. I mean, another thing that's kind of overlaps with the psychedelic stuff, and that I think that when it comes to like adult cartoons, usually like there's a kind of cultural thing where this is supposed to be like a company, like you're in order to like appreciate this, you're supposed to be like smoking weed, you know, like I think that's also now or under some kind of
it's a huge
influence,
thing,
you know, like
Adult
Pink
Swim.
Floyd's The Wall and like all this stuff, like, you know, it's kind of like that's definitely an element of it, like too. But yeah, I mean, I already talked about my Scooby-Doo psyop theory that it was, you know, designed to make people think that there's no actual supernatural phenomena, and that everything is due to an old man who wants to scare people away from the mine or something. And it's also a reverse of actual like psyops people have done, where like people like, you know, try to like the Aswang psyop in the Philippines. Like usually if you're trying to make people think there's a monster, like it's not to like, you know,
like so you can get control of the mind.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, I guess that's what the bad guys are doing.
Yeah, I guess that is kind of a Scooby-Doo thing. But I think that most of the time when people like fake hauntings are not trying to scare people away, but trying to like that is an example of trying to scare people away, I guess. But in this case, like I think a lot of the time if they have a fake haunting, it's like to pull people in. But anyway,
it's interesting. I always thought it was weird. One thing about Cartoon Network, just because I thought it was weird how like it's like a kids channel at first, and then
at night, and then at night it turns, kind of, right?
It turns.
It's certainly different from like, Nick at Night, where like Nick at Night is like Friends or the Brady Bunch or whatever. At night. Yeah.
No, but this I forgot that like they basically came out of like Ted Turner and like you know the whole like Atlanta like Turner Broadcasting Systems, and in fact It had to do with them buying MGM United Artists in 1986, but then Turner sold back MGM, but he kept much of the film and TV library made before May 1986, and then created TNT and started playing like stuff from that library. And then he bought the library of Hanna-Barbera. And then I think then in 1992 he announced he was going to launch Cartoon Network, and it eventually, though, in I think '96 it merged Yeah, TBS merged with Time Warner of Sus Warner Brothers. So that's kind of when the Adult Swim I feel like era started. It was in the mid to late 90s, and they were doing original programming, but then it got more and more.
When did Adult Swim start? Because I feel like I remember when they launched Adult Swim.
Oh my god!
Okay.
I
remember
y'all ain't ready.
They used
for
to
this.
just play the Powerpuff Girls.
No, you're not ready for this. You know when it started. September 2nd, 2001.
Oh, wow.
Oh, shit.
Wow.
Right on time.
Oh,
right on time to melt the brains of little millennials who were just traumatized by 9/11 and just keep watching, smoke weed, keep watching. I don't know. It did have that weird vibe.
They played anime too, right? On there.
Yeah, they play anime. I mean, there were some shows that were
DBZ at first. They're we have Dragon Ball, X Super, or whatever,
Yeah, they got kids coming out of their middle school anime phase, kind of, and then got them when they became teenagers. It's a way to keep people watching the tunes until adulthood.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
Adult
infantilization. Yeah,
right. And then I remember watching Aqua Teen Hunger Force, Harvey Birdman.
Space Ghost Coast to Coast, right? Yeah,
right.
Yeah, Space Ghost.
All the Tim and Eric stuff.
Dang. What about I don't think you guys ever touched on him, but maybe you just don't want the negative attention or whatever. But Sam Hyde was on there too.
You're right.
I mean,
he's
the $1 million
extreme
lord.
show.
Yeah, I'm not afraid to talk shit about him. It's the I feel like Sam Hyde he doesn't have shooters these days so much. It's the people who I prefer not to talk about as people who I think are sus, but who have actual shooters online who are gonna I
don't know. I've heard some stories about Sam Hyde, from people that are 2 degrees separation from him.
I mean, didn't Virgil Texas of Chapo fame do an event with Sam Hyde?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, 2014. They all loved Weave back in the day, the Nazi hacker guy. They all were tight. That's something a little spooky because there were those hacker people that were known for targeted harassment campaigns and the Russell League and shit. Maybe the less said about them the better. But then he got out of jail, and Glenn Greenwald and Molly Crabapple celebrated, and all these alt left kind of micro celebs were Weave is amazing, and then he ran off to be with the Nazis in Ukraine or some shit, and it has a big swastika tattoo, that type of shit. A little spooky.
I wasn't really around the internet during that when all that stuff was going down. I'm also a Zoomer too, so 198.
No, that's some old ass millennial early Twitter kind of lore. A lot of things were solidified in the weird 2013 to 2015 period on Twitter in terms of who was a personality or had acquired a kind of network of, and there were migrations both from Tumblr and from things like Something Awful that were people that already sort of knew each other on the internet all migrate with the same vibe and style. That's where weird Twitter came from, and then eventually irony Twitter, and then sort of then it got political, and it got sort of split into Gamergate and MAGA 4chan, Pepe Nazis, and the dirtbag left on the other side. But it was that was
they would frequently interact, sort of,
They had a lot in common, even though they ended up on different sides, or one ended up on the Bernie side, the other one on the Trump side, but both had the outsider kind of, and the disrespect for authority, man. A lot of Bart Simpson energy.
I always thought the school shooter or the mass shooter meme of him was how does a news channel fuck that up? You know what I mean? It just seems such a psyop.
That was that era of hackers on steroids and the white van blowing up and stuff.
I remember that anonymous news.
Yeah,
thing,
people used to really fall for that stuff. That was again that kind of Wild West internet phase when people didn't know. I mean, I feel people are always now the new thing is AI. People don't know what the hell they're doing and get just hoodwinked by the dumbest shit in the world, but
there was not a lot of
what it was
there was not a lot of vigilance in the early 2010s in terms of people thought Tor is gonna liberate the world, then people were oh, it's funded literally by the Navy, and spies use it. So like maybe and it's like shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
It's gonna liberate everybody. John Perry Barlow said it's awesome. Shut up. Like Jacob Applebaum's like really awesome, and he's like a hacker who's on the run. There are like so many Rolling Stone profiles are like so fake about like every time he walks through an airport, like he gets his fucking laptops like stripped because like all this like theater about like the hacker evading the surveillance state, but like I don't think they were actually evading the surveillance state. Like they could have gotten fucked. Like I still don't know what's going on with Snowden. You know, like there's a lot of weird. Now Julian Assange is out, but that was a whole weird thing that started as like a way to attack China, like, you know, the whole WikiLeaks thing. Like there's a lot of old sustenance with that, and like these, and some people have switched sides. Like Glenn Greenwald was like a heckin' alt-left kind of anti-war guy, but then like gradually migrated to like being like Tucker's best friend, like over, you know, kind of like Matt Taibbi also. Like there are people that have made those flips over the last 10 years, and but a lot of them started to like Occupy. That was a big
although they really always were like that. That's the thing. It kind of goes back to the Sam Hyde thing of like you can get so much leverage with certain people by like certain signals. In fact, I almost think like with Glenn Greenwald, at least he like took some policy positions like where like, you know, like he took some political stances where you can understand why people would like become sympathetic to him. But like Sam Hyde, it's like it's this kind of thing of like comedy, you know, like if you're killing these gross jokes and you got the right dirtbag sensibility, like you're cool, man, even if you're like literally a Nazi, you know.
Right.
So that's like what's really
that's how they
you know?
tried to spin it of like it's just irony in like 2015, and then like more like weird Nazi shit like came out about him, and just other like weird like grooming like bad thing, like he's not good, like
but people definitely get the amnesia with Glenn Greenwald because he was like pro Iraq War and stuff like that, like or what, you know.
No, I think
like he's always like a libertarian.
No, he was like there's like that video of him on Bill Maher or something, right? Like supposed to be, but he's like
he started out as a blogger in the blogging era.
Yeah, like
happened.
back then.
Yeah. But no, I mean, you know, I think this type of humor, I think Adult Swim is actually like kind of emblematic of like that humor that also existed online and probably informed it in a lot of ways in terms of anything that was on TV back then. You know, before like internet meme videos really became like a huge thing, there was Adult Swim, that hot couch where you just like get stoned and like watch some like random cartoons. But I remember always kind of feeling it's like a Grateful Dead thing where like some of this is kind of funny and like creative or it's like wacky, but like something feels wrong. Like this isn't for me. The vibe is off. It feels like psytrance. I don't know what it is.
No, for sure. Like that's pretty much what like got me to that conclusion that it was like the only weird part is that it's like to me is that it's in a children's channel. Like it's just so weird to me, you know. I always like freaked out about that, even after you know. And my parents are I grew up like with Mexican immigrant parents, so I think that probably informed their like vigilance towards like
right,
what shit like that, like satanic shit, you know.
Right. It reminds me of like, wasn't there like a Puerto Rican like Smurfs scare, or was it in Mexico? Maybe it was Puerto Rico, but it was like the Smurfs.
The president was something that the president saw a duende or something like that in a tree.
Oh yeah, right. Well, that's, you know, all right, that was like maybe, yeah. But there was also like a whole like panic around like the Smurfs being satanic, which I'm not gonna say they're not, but
yeah, they're pretty sus, you know. They're pretty
there's something about
what's going on.
I forget what it is, but
why, you know, why is there only one female Smurf? Like how do they reproduce? I don't know, but there's definitely
this is funny actually. They ran an Era G campaign, Adult Swim, in 2017, August 2017, airing a cryptic bump transmission during a new episode of Rick and Morty, referring viewers to a Twitter account. And like, it's funny, like right when QAnon was launching, they're like, do this fun ARG. It's like weird. Interesting.
I wonder what the QAnon people think about the allegations or whatever. I wonder if they're pinned them as part of the pedophile cabal, you know?
They probably would, because I mean, they were owned by Warner Discovery, or, you know, basically Warner Brothers, I think, from like 96 to like 2016. Then they, I think, got sold off to AT&T.
I just remember there being a lot of incest jokes in that show.
Yeah, just like sick, like it's that kind of like sicko shit of like poop, fart, boobs, like like why be like I'm a baby, like it's just like stupid, like fuck off, like it's not funny, like you know what I mean? Like I don't know, it's like it has this like maybe like deleterious effect of like like acclimating adults to like swimming in sort of like meaningless like meaningless empty media, but thinking that I think there was always a thing with like real Adult Swim heads, like you kind of thought you were like, you get it, like you're actually in on the joke, like you know it sucks, and that means you're smarter than like the average, you know what I mean? Like there's that weird reverse psychology thing of like, oh, like he's doing a thing and it's like sucking on purpose, but like I know that he's sucking on purpose, which means I'm smart, and like I have the critical faculty to like notice that. And anybody that thinks like this sucks is like stupid. They don't get that he's like doing a bit. Like, oh, he's doing it. But I don't see why just doing a bit is like hilarious in and of itself, especially when the bit is like stupid or like scatological or just like something very, which I feel like a lot of the shows on Adult Swim like basically were. I mean, some of them had more like traditional sort of sitcom cartoon kind of vibes, but still trying to get the adults, like they don't want them to grow up, you know? I mean, Viacom was a little different, but I felt like I mentioned this, I think the Simpsons thing of like, I graduated from the grooming pipeline of Nickelodeon to MTV, you know, around middle school. And like, you know, growing up as a kid, it didn't even like occur to me that like, oh, these are like the same, owned by the same company. And like, they're really just two branches of the same like network. But they kind of get you like, okay, you're a Nickelodeon kid. And then like, whoop, here, like give you a little push and now you're an MTV kid. And like, they, you know, it's like the same. So, you know, I guess like Disney just sort of brought it under like one banner, and then Cartoon Network would do this thing where like you start watching at night when you're older, or maybe when you're young, you don't quite get it, but like it's weird and fucked up and like crazy, you know, all that kind of, it's on that Ren and Stimpy vibe. I mean, like I guess like the Boondocks was like a smarter show, and it was kind of like woke for its time. Yeah, it was kind of like it kind of had, that was like a better show, like, and I think there were like a few that maybe we're like a little like smarter or whatever, but there was a lot of like filler that was just like probably not that good. I don't know what happened to it now. I don't know if it fell off. Like, does anybody watch it anymore?
I have no idea. I watched no television.
I thought it was off. I didn't think the Boondocks was still going.
Oh, not the Boondocks. I just meant like Adult Swim in general.
Oh, Adult Swim.
I think it does still exist.
I think so. Yeah,
it's on streaming now, probably.
Right. Yeah. I think it's on HBO. Yeah, you're right.
Oh yeah, it's on Max.
Show with a satanic dog or whatever.
Yeah, now they're all just like quirky derp, like big mouth looking comedies about like I'm like a demon and like it's cool. I don't know. It's just like sick shit. Like I don't know. I'm not impressed. I grew up not watching cartoons anymore. I want to let's normalize not watching cartoons as adults.
Yeah,
I think it's a good idea. I think we have to do it.
Yeah, I think that's
like,
fine.
Anime,
like I can't think of a single one where I'm like, oh no, but we have to let adults watch this one, because it's like, unless you're like showing it to like your kids or something, you know what I mean? Like oh no, adults need this cartoon. Like we don't want to be in a place in a society where we're like, adults need this cartoon. Like they're gonna, you know what I mean?
No, right? Yeah, this cartoon's gonna tell us the truth about society. You know, it's like okay.
I think we tried the experiment. It failed. Like. You know, it's not gonna. All these little yellow kids and Peck's Bad Boys are not gonna like enlighten us and like do a revolution.
I don't think cartoons per se are bad. I think it's like the toon ethos. It's like
they're okay for
comics
kids,
with an X, like sort of like approach to cartoons that people take.
It's also a sitcom. Like it's basically a sitcom too.
Yeah, I almost feel like if something is, I almost feel like in a way like kind of the opposite, where like I don't know, I'm a little bit sussed out by things that are like just like for children. I guess it's something that's kind of existed for a long time, but like in sort of these old kid stories, it's like really heavy-handed. Like if you do this, like if you disobey your parents in this way, like you're gonna get like totally like eaten by like a monster like in 2 seconds, and like just like these kind of like traumatic old fairy tales.
No, they're definitely sus. I think it's even today. There's like sus children's books that are like coercive. Like I don't know.
Like and this sort of like weird. Vibe. But then there's this kind of like weird like Bart Simpson type like hypnosis of kids who try to turn them into like, you know, uncontrollable like consumers. They're just like, I want this, I want, you know, like that. Right. I think is like really sus. But like I also think that like I don't know, there's 2 ways to go with it, because I mean when I think about it, like, you know, ideally like a cartoon is just kind of like a form of painting that moves, like if so I don't think that that's inherently bad. However, like, I think there's like a certain ethos that like has like just suffused like, you know, the culture around making like cartoons or like, you know, the sort of like funny pages, like Life in Hell, like type of, you know,
particular
like,
American expression.
Like whereas I don't think that like theoretically, you know, like I'm thinking of like you know, Yang, like that's kind of like a cartoon in a way, or like a form of animation, you know, like
it's a similar
like
thing of like I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. Like give me the YA. Like why not just
I mean like Yang,
you know,
like shadow puppet theater that we were talking about recently.
Oh,
like
Yang. I thought you meant YA novels. Oh,
no,
sorry.
Yeah.
No,
That's
shadow
also,
puppet theater. No, that's
so that's like kind
example.
of like a form of animation in a way.
No, for sure.
Like so I think that can be like sophisticated or like rewarding or interesting for like all sorts of people. But yeah, so I think that's like but it's totally different, you know, and it's also like it's very different from like if you think of that as being puppets, it's also different from like the way that puppets are often perceived like in American culture too, where it's like I'm a little fucking creek and I love to like you know, like you know what I mean, like magic is fun, like you know, or like what like or you know what I mean, like the sort of like ventriloquist dummy like sus evil thing.
Sus
yeah, like you know, telling these like lewd jokes and like just being a little like a little puckish freak, you know, like
little bad boy. So, they love being
I think that is so I don't think that like, you know, it's inherently sus as an art form, but I do think that it's like deeply penetrated by susness. Some kind of similar to what I said about black metal, where like maybe there's something there that like isn't inherently sus, but like it's deeply like, you know, soaked through with like sus
inflected with sus
culture.
Totally.
And you know, and it comes out of a sus imperial, you know, world context, you know, where but I'm down on cartoons. I think I think
I'm not really watching too many cartoons these days.
We might want to move along here.
Let's
though
try.
I could really talk about this forever. But no, it's a great topic.
I want to do something I mentioned to Dimitri wanting to do, talk about like the infantilization of people. I want to do like sus Star Wars soon.
Oh yeah,
because I've been like
we're not like, stopping.
Somehow into my radar like came this like latest like, you know, freak out over some kind of like stupid Star Wars thing that happened that Disney did where it was like woke or something.
It was
and I'm like,
it's cultural Marxism. Cultural Marxism is ruining my cartoons.
But you have like adult men like making videos that go on for hours and hours talking about this shit, you know, like and like the lore around like the fucking guy with the big head and how like Disney ruined it or whatever. And it's just like, dude, like it's genuinely like harrowing anyway. But that's like, so that's not necessarily a cartoon. Like that's not a cartoon actually like in terms of form, but it's a cartoon in spirit. It's a cartoon in spirit.
I mean, there's
exactly.
The later ones definitely are. They're mostly
exactly.
In a way,
you know. Exactly. So that's why I'm saying it's not about the form. It's about like the ethos. It's about like this idea of like, you know, being a kid again. Like, you know, just a refusal of like the adult world and the complexities of reality and wanting to retreat into like this false idea of what like of what myth even is, you know, like where like the Joseph Campbell shit of like, oh, a myth is like this simplistic bullshit story that like I'm like, you know, following a pattern that I made up that like I'm imposing on like you know, it's just which, you know, traditional stories don't even necessarily follow. And this is like, you know, anyway, whatever. We can move on. But that's us.
Anyways,
thank
you so much for calling in.
I hope that was fruitful.
It's nice meeting you guys. The first time putting a
face
face to the voices or whatever.
I hope it's not. I hope it's not too weird.
A little bit. You know, I saw when you guys like got doxxed or whatever on Twitter. I was like, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Just ignored the whole thing. All right, but
we appreciate
you guys have a good night. I'll definitely stick around.
All right, hell yeah.
Peace out.
Thank you. Peace.
Yeah. Later.
All right.
I'm getting kind of tired. But we can push through. Like,
we got Andy. I think we're gonna have to institute we're gonna have to abridge the we want to talk to all of you, but I feel like everyone up the river here, I feel like has been here a long time. Zoom user been here.
How many people is that?
It says 6 right now. Do we have
6?
Let's see. Oh.
Is Do we have?
We have Andy.
Andy?
Yeah.
Are you
I guess
mute?
Jesus.
I'm
didn't
on.
never-
What's up?
Yo,
What's
what's
up?
up, dude? What's up?
What's
Returning call-in guest.
Yeah, right. I think I was like
Andy.
the fourth one.
Yeah,
last
you were
time.
the dude hanging out like in the
Yeah.
first one. I think the
I
whole time.
called
That
and
was
had,
fun.
like, I had like nothing to say. I just called. I was like, I read this book, and then I forgot what book that was, and I thought about like doing like a whole bit like for today, like showing up like, you know, like glasses on, a hat or something, but being like, dude, I'm calling from desert New Mexico, like that.
That'd be good.
Yeah,
yeah, we haven't got.
They're coming after me. Yeah,
The
Oh,
like,
God.
phones
I'll
cutting off.
triangulate in this position pretty soon. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but
stay on the line, Andy. Stay on the line. Yeah. Well, how's it going? Have you been hanging?
Congrats on 200 episodes.
So
Thanks.
Thank you so
insane
much.
to see how the parapolitical sphere has evolved in those 3-4 years, however long it's been.
It is wild, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like in 2020, it was different. It was definitely different.
Yeah.
And now, yeah, it's been such a winding journey, you know.
Yeah.
But
you know, in a way, I feel like it's kind of like full circle, and like, you know, like I've been kind of like tuning in and out for this show, but having it on the background. Luckily I got on in time, but like, I guess like now that it's firmly like, okay, the first guy was talking about like Zoomers or something, and like, it kind of just made me think about how like when this kid, I say kid, but he's an adult probably, in 2016, you know, wasn't really there maybe to see the cultural shift that's kind of happened since. And now as we get closer to this new election, I'm kind of wondering, like, did the whole, let's say, teal dirtbag left podcast sphere people, in a way, do you feel like the job's complete? Like, do you feel like they've served their purpose and become kind of entrenched, and now it's just on to the next
think that they
thing?
want out, but they can't like actually jump to the next thing. That's really what I think. I think that they want like someone to be like,
California.
make a movie for us. Yeah, they are in a hotel California. They want someone to like give them money to make a movie about like whatever like cool epic thing that they want to make. People won't do that.
Because Hollywood's dying.
And they're trapped. That's what I genuinely think. I absolutely agree with what Dimitri just said. They're in a hotel California.
Like they can check out anytime they like, but they can never leave. I mean, unless they want to leave like the money, which is I guess like it's a lot, but it doesn't seem like fun. I feel like we have fun when we record,
right?
And like it's fun to like do these episodes, and like it's very rewarding beyond any like, you know, like money or anything. But I do think that I wonder if there's like a last act or something left. I feel like it's kind of irrelevant or just like kind of receded into like cultural commentary / comedy more than like the pretense of doing a revolution or kind of like his. I mean, it's really faded away now. Like, what do you say? Like, let's put Bernie in again. Like, nobody's saying that. Everyone hates Bernie. That was like, you know, made their like career off of like supporting him.
No, and once that kind of fizzled out, like they all like kind of pivoted to like it doesn't matter, you know, like it, you know, who cares about politics or whatever, with maybe like a couple of weird little meme things like Pritzker or whatever that kind of like bubbled up. That's a big exception. Yeah.
We are going to unlock Contra 7, I think, in the coming, just because of what's going on right now. We actually were going to unlock it, I think, for the convention, but might jump the gun a little bit because we might as well just put it out there. I think it is interesting that, like, you know, as evidenced by the hundreds of big boy comments, you know, that I found on Twitter today, and like the coconut, like being coconut pilled and all this stuff. Like, I think we were on the money in pointing out like the dark, like the negative aspect of like just being ironic. Like, I'm just doing a bit, like that kind of vibe approach to politics. And like, especially when it's being put towards the efforts of like, you know, like a sus bourgeois, like billionaire politician, you know, even as like a half joke. But I mean, like being coconut pilled for Kamala is not a joke. She might be the president next month. you know, and there's an election coming up and all this stuff. So, you know, even if it just happens through her, I think our points about the irony thing not being like super great, like, are being borne out right now. And it is funny that like, so we really got came for like very hard, I feel like, after those episodes came out, but from like many different quarters, not just from like, I'm not trying to say like Pritzker sent his agents, but, you know, we got weird DMs from people in that world. I'll just leave it at that, that were a little bit sus. And like, you know, like we got noticed by, you know, and then of course these other people then start saying that we're an incel parapolitics cult, and then little weird like stalker freaks started like doxing us like nonstop, and then other people think we're like not anointed enough, and
like,
so like we're actually doing a work with like, you know, for how small we are, like we really kicked of, like, a weird hornet's nest with that.
Yeah. Oof.
For what was a pretty straightforward point about like, I don't know if like your family was involved in Castle Bank, like don't like use your huge media platform to joke about like how epic like fat big boy like JB Pritzker would be, and he's actually like a good politician. Like, you know, I feel like,
I mean, it really is like, I think it really did.
It.
I don't want to like make it into more than like it is, because I think like, you know, obviously like I don't think that like anyone like really like lies awake at night like, you know, like gritting their teeth about like how much like subliminal jihad like, you know, like bothered them or whatever, but
maybe like one or two people.
Well,
right.
Yeah, but I don't think that it's you know, I don't think it's anybody who's like raking. I think it's like just some people who are insane, who are obsessed with us.
You're right.
Who are
right. Yeah,
I'm not talking about like, you know, whatever. Like the people who are making like $100,000 a month or more.
Right.
I'm talking about like people who like, you know, are just truly out of their minds. But so there are people like that. But on the other hand, who like, again, like are just like simping for those people like who make $100,000 a month, you know, but for whatever reason, and like are fixated on us. But anyway, like but I do think that like refusing to kind of like kiss certain rings at certain points did like kind of have it, like us, like, you know, just having, like even if we didn't like really, like certainly things were said, but even if we didn't really say anything, I think just like, you know, having kind of like drawing that line like did kind of like I do think people kind of perceived it. But I also I do see your point that I think that like we might start to see like based on my sense as someone like vaguely in the same like field, like at a much lower level than like that kind of like dirtbag, like, you know, bigger stuff. I do think that we might see people start to like jump ship on it soon and like try to pivot to other things. And as we've seen in the past, when people like had the good thing going, I think it will play out the same way, like when Jon Stewart tried to leave the Daily Show and become like, I don't know, like a director or whatever. I don't even know what he tried to do.
To do like a weird Iranian propaganda movie.
That was or when Virgil Texas tried to do Bad Faith, you know, like that. I think that like we'll see a lot of like bad faiths. Like
according to the episode art, he still is doing it. I don't know what you're talking about. Like when I look on Apple Podcasts, this picture's still there. You know, but exactly. No, it's like the bad faith like pivots, and like I think you know, I think about, you know, like Noided LA1 guest like Barrett has said lately about like podcasters that like don't create anything else except just like riffs and like talking. He like doesn't respect them. Because like he feels like there's something, adds something extra, like, you know, like Khalid does academic work at like, you know, as an arts background. I'm doing other things that are like, you know, sort of like tangential to SJ that are also like, you know, creative works and things like that. And I think we're like very much trying to like make the podcast not just like riffing and like or like enrich it kind of to be like the podcast itself could be like something a little more with different parts to it. But I think it's like if you make a fortune just riffing, it's kind of like, why do anything like different, you know? But I don't know. It's a strange medium, and it's like a strange thing. I think even for people who like succeed wildly at it, it's like a strange dynamic with like your audience and stuff. I think especially at like that, where you have like millions of listeners, like if you include the free ones, you know, that's like you can't really interface with all those people, you know? So in a sense, we still have like a more boutique audience that we can actually talk to and like meet in real life. And like,
honestly, like, like that's the thing. Like I often think about like there's like a lot of like there are like, I think this has been a great like evening, great experience. Like it's great like talking to like people who like enjoy the show, like it's such like a positive experience, because I do feel like, and maybe I'm just like, I think this is true of many people, like negative things stand out more like in your memory and in your like sort of experience. Like negative things tend to make a bigger impact than positive things. If you're told one negative thing or one hurtful thing, then like that's going to outweigh like 5 positive things, and there is like a lot of like negative stuff that comes with like doing this, even at this like small level. So I often think like to get to that like big level, that like some people are at, to truly be like, even, and like in the podcast world, like in the like the left podcast world or whatever, like they're not even like really famous, but like I think even that level of like fame must be awful. Like it must like really, you must really get the Getty money disease in a way, or some like sort of mutated strain of it, and
no, it's like it can be a gilded cage, kind of like I do not I don't envy that like scope of like audience, and even that monoculture thing is almost like done now. Like I think like after Taylor, after like some other people like that, like we're just like, it's gonna be more like micro celebrities now, or like the thing, like I guess Andy Warhol, like sus Andy Warhol is right, like whatever, but or everyone's gonna have like 1,500 followers, instead of being famous for 15 minutes.
Like,
or 15 minutes.
Or 15 minutes. Like you could kind of pick. Like it's gonna be 15 of something, but like maybe a factor. But it is still it's strange. And I mean, I think also the trap with that, like having a particular posture and almost like being in like a floating timeline cartoon where like the world keeps changing, but you are the same, like heckin' dirtbag who's like going to the Verso loft and like reading Jacobin and like also making like poop, like fuck jokes like all the time. And, I think that was always that if there was something that, like maybe ambiently like always felt a little off about it, was that like little puckish bad boy impulse. And like I think I said in the Simpsons episode, was actually what my GF said, was that like it's sort of the vibe of people who like want to be seen as being on the right side of history without changing any of their kind of like not great, like selfish or whatever personal lifestyles and habits and privileges and enjoying all the treats that come with like late empire life and everything, and kind of like there's a weird posturing. I think the dirtbag aspect of it, like I think people are waking up more to now that it's actually bourgeois, it's not working class. Like that was the kind of the issue with it, is that it was like posing also, as like it was on this misunderstanding that like the worker, when the fucking workers, like when they hear you making those problematic racist jokes, when they hear Nick Mullen doing that fucking Chinese accent, man, you know what, fuck it, I'm voting for Bernie, these guys are cool. Like that's really what people thought. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, exactly. Like
really, like
and all
like,
these people who are like they're dock workers, like they just learned they like the little red book, and you can Dimitri was talking about this before, like this whole, and like people. That's the thing, like what I was gonna say before is like there's this parasocial dimension to it where it's like people have, and that's like kind of what I was talking about before in terms of like what our faces look like or whatever. Like these like people have this kind of image in their mind of who someone is, and some people try to cultivate that image, which is very contrary to reality if you think about it for 2 seconds. Like who is this person who like has like every SAT word, like and you think that they're like from the salt mines or whatever.
Speaks the light patrician accent, like, and is impeccably like decked out in Carhartt and like expensive vintage. And
come on, exactly. It's kind of like Dimitri was saying recently. Like we can tell, like we know, like we've met you like 1,000 times. Like you can't fool
so
us.
Many times. Like you can't trick us.
And it's like, but it's just like but I think that's also like a thing where like there's this sort of libidinal like parasocial thing to it where like there is this sort of simulacrum of like having friends and talking and hanging out. And it is kind of, it goes back to the cartoon thing in a way where there's that time in your life where like, you're on the hot couch or whatever, and you're just like chilling and smoking weed and like, like you're just relaxing and like laughing it up with your buds, talking about these fucking Democrats and how they can't get their shit together. And like, I don't know. That's like a thing, but that's, you know, I think that, and I do think that there's this kind of, is part of what makes it recreational, part of what makes it entertaining is like that there is that element of like, you know, like repartee or whatever, or like that conversational quality to a podcast. But also I think that like we do work for it, you know, like we work, like it's part, like for us, it's work. It's not just like chatting and riffing.
No.
It's
It's my full-time
like,
job, which is like great. Like,
like,
I'm so fortunate because I love doing this, but it's like a full-time job. It's like very difficult to even do like part-time work, like beyond it. I just thought,
and,
you know,
and by work, like with the exception of maybe the Cobra episode, it's not like going to the Alamo Draft House and getting fucking like blasted off our asses or like whatever. Like we, like even if we're watching a film, like we'll watch like 5 of them, like talk about them like in a rigorous way or try to, you know, like that's a thing. Like, and that, and that wasn't something where like it was even conscious. Like these other podcasts don't involve work. It felt like there wasn't, like it didn't feel natural to not do the work, you know, like to not be presenting something that actually like was effortful, and just to be like kind of like riffing around. Like it just felt like gross and wrong to
totally
do.
Gross.
And but like in retrospect, I can kind of see like like how that is something that I think is a difference. But anyway,
Anyways, I just want to read something that I never read before, but Andy, I think you're gonna appreciate this. You might recognize it, but this is from the now defunct Twitter user Emma Boof. And Emma Boof had a thread in April 2021, and I think I've tried to express like elements of this thread in various conversations that we had about this, but I feel like this is so well written and insightful and touches on a lot of things. But you know, I'm just going to read it. Emma Boof wrote in April 2021, one of the biggest wins for the fake left podcast op was to create a generation of, quote, leftists who can't understand how class divisions are sustained and who think that inheritance, gatekeeping, socialization, and social capital have nothing to do with the reproduction of class. It doesn't matter who your grandfather was because your grandfather was a nobody and so was mine. It's different if your grandfather ran the biggest anti-communist clearinghouse in the 1950s. I mean, we all get how having a, quote, rich grandfather gives you certain advantages, right? It's more than just getting nicer birthday presents and help with your college tuition. Most fake left podcast stands just like the idea of a parasocial relationship with a rich kid who pretends to be working class. They like that somebody has the same aesthetics and affect as them, but with the, quote, charisma that they can't recognize as embodied cultural capital. Punk and Gen X weren't really about eliminating class distinctions. They were about creating a space where class distinctions were too subtle to pick up on if you weren't a part of that class. Like if you were a part of these scenes, maybe you figured it out, or probably didn't. Why were some cool kids cooler than other cool kids? What were all of these subtle, constantly shifting, almost invisible markers of good taste that meant everything? This was how rich kids could move among the proles while still signaling to each other that they were rich kids. It was always uncool to talk about money, but you could hint at it by your proximity to other forms of capital that come from growing up with money. There's always been declassed bourgeois artists as long as there's been a bourgeoisie. Some have been communist sympathetic, Nancy Cunard, and some have been fashy, Breiher. But I think what's changed in the past generation or so is the idea of avant-garde art being able to show non-bourgeois subjectivities or be the nucleus for communities that can exist apart from capital. What makes podcast hipsters especially malignant is this new subcultural practice where you police the boundaries of the subculture and defend your imaginary podcast friends through reproducing this specific counterproductive discourse about how class functions or doesn't. These are a lot of quotes. You're a hater. They deserve to get rich. Everybody is a grandpa. Who cares? LOL, CIA. All of that is to specifically shield the nature of the limited hangout and keep you not only from seeing the facts, but even wanting to ask the right questions about how it works. Music hipsters made it uncool to talk about money, and then podcast hipsters made it cool to attack people who ask the wrong questions about money. The end.
Well, on that note, that's all I have.
On that note, all right.
What else?
I want to give you that.
Like, what else can you say after,
I can't, the shout out, Emma Boof, wherever you are. You were absolutely cooking in 2021. Hope you're doing all right.
Wish I could hear their posts or read the posts like about like the current Palestine
Oh my God, absolutely,
but
absolutely.
I think it just motivates you just to do that kind of diving.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back to the subject of Palestine and the mandated period. Like, that's something I'm really looking forward to doing in July.
Absolutely. That's great work.
Absolutely.
Well,
all right.
Congrats on 200. I'll make room for the next grotto head to get up on here.
Thank you so much.
Thanks
for checking in, Andy. We'll see you next time. All right. Peace. All right. We got Colin coming up. And then I think, and then we got River.
All right. Word. So there's two more, I guess.
I think there's three. There is Zoom user. And then there is Homework Sucks, who I know from Colin. What's up?
Hey, how's it going? I was a big fan of your cybernetics episodes, and I work in alternative education.
Oh,
I think that's a really interesting place where you see a lot of that kind of echelon institute adjacent kind of 70s kind of scary stuff. And I was curious if you all have gone into the history of alternative education at all.
No, in
that's
fact,
a really good question.
Yeah, I guess it's like Montessori schools and stuff. Is that what alternative education like is?
Oh, you mean Esalen Institute? Okay, Esalen. Yeah. I mean, we have gone into Esalen. We've strafed across it, I think, in our psychedelics episode.
Yeah, I'm kind of using that as like a vibe word.
But the alternative, the alternative education. That would be a nice dive, honestly.
We've definitely talked a little bit about like Rudolf Steiner and like that stuff. We got a Q&A about that. We talked about that a while ago, like Anthroposophy and his influence on like the alternative schools movement. But it is, and we definitely got some questions about like Waldorf and Montessori schools like in the past that we've talked about. We haven't done like an episode about it. I do find that interesting.
A lot of writing about it.
Yeah, like because that's something.
So one key thing that's really fascinating in a lot of curriculum design, I keep on hearing that idea of like a black box method come up, is like seeing the classroom as a black box that the curriculum design passes through.
Oh, wow.
I think is kind of a major point in it, and kind of how that relates to the free school movement and people like A.S. Neal and Summer Hill. I don't know if you all have ran into that.
I'm not familiar. So. I've heard of the free school movement, but I'm not familiar with those people.
That would be an awesome dive. I think it would really fit in with a lot of
A.S. Neal. I'm looking him up right now.
That's a good. There's a lot of California stuff to look into.
So A.S. Neal is Britain, but a lot of it ends up in California.
Yeah, I guess I remember looking up. There was like a famous like San Francisco alternative school. I think that was actually at the Presidio in like the early 1900s. I think I remember I was looking at it to see where like Betty Ford Aquino went to school, but she was homeschooled actually. But there was this like very alternative kind of like Montessori-esque thing that was run by this woman. I forget if she was Italian or not, but it was kind of a big to-do in a early. And I've heard that like actually today, like very wealthy families like do these very like tutoring alternative school arrangements, and like, you know, they don't even send their kids to like prep schools or, you know, things like that. It's like very, you know, proprietary. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting how like there's like on one end of the spectrum you have that where it's like, you know, these schools where people aren't allowed to use iPads. And then, like, you know, Kanye everyone else is having these iPads, like, that was, like, I don't know if that was, like, the kind of these bougie, I mean, like, again, I think that probably...
And there's things like that. There's also Scientology schools that were kind of alternative.
Yeah,
I walked by a tutoring
like,
center
the Donda
yesterday.
Academy, I think, was a complete mess. But, like, there's also, like, increasingly people who, like, don't, like, they're, like, the kids will just, like, learn to read of their own curiosity or things like that, you know, like, sort of these, like not even homeschooling, but just, like, unschooling. Where they just, like that's, I feel like it's something that's like increasing in popularity too. But so, I mean,
totally.
What's been fascinating about it is a lot of that research has some validity to it. So it's been really interesting to see how it's been recently kind of taken by the right, like the current, like back to the land, like right-wing homeschool movement.
Yeah, the kind of trad.
I mean, I think homeschooling is like fine. I mean, I guess the only thing people like about homeschooling is like maybe like socialized weirdly relative to others, but like again, it's like relative, you know.
A lot
like
of people do pods now. They kind of socialize in like little groups of like other families that homeschool, and so that they give some kind of socialization.
But I think you do need to like sit your kids down and teach them things. You know, that's something that I do think is true.
No,
like you can't just leave them to their own devices and wait for them to learn to read. I don't know. I mean,
definitely.
I could see how there's something to that, like that. I think this is true of schooling in general. Like you want the kids to be like kind of self-guided and motivated by their own interests, and you want to create a hook that like they care about to make them passionate about learning something. But also like you can't just like leave them around and like wait till one day they're like, Mom, how do you spell tiger or whatever. Like I don't know. That's my feeling. Not that like
it's kind of like the Will and Jada Pinkett Smith,
I mean.
like the vibe where they were like just being taught like the most random.
But yeah, I mean, do you have like what do you think about that, Colin? Would you agree or just I don't know? I'm curious.
I know I would agree with you mostly. Yeah. I think at a higher level, right? If there's not the interest, then you're not gonna really get real skill, right? So a lot of time what we don't teach in American public schools, it's a very known obvious point, is how to develop the systems to actually enjoy investigating something, right? So we teach the skills, but we don't teach the like practice of like enjoyment, right?
Right.
Or the practice of like
that's
dialogue,
interesting.
Right.
That's interesting. Yeah.
But I think something that was really shocking and fascinating to me is the news that was everywhere about the state that had almost made that Christian charter school part of like with state funding. What was so interesting about that? It was an online charter school that went totally unnoticed.
Wow.
And that's the really upsetting, strange thing.
That's awful.
Seeing kind of all of this stuff go online as kind of a privatized privatization of these kind of democratic anti-capitalist movements turned into
just give them the iPad. Like,
well, I mean, I'm just like perpetually in the job market, like in education, and I'm constantly seeing like, or, like not in the past, but increasingly now, seeing things like, like where it's like prerequisites, like you must be comfortable, like creatively and ethically, like incorporating AI into like your teaching or whatever. This is essential that you, like, basically what they're saying is like, we want you to like, basically like, just be the like the bumper rails for like some kind of AI tutor that we've come up with, and that is like fuck no. Like it's
actually getting to a dangerous point where I feel like I was on Hollywood Boulevard yesterday and they had those little like Postmates like robot cars driving around, and it's like and, you see the Waymo cars driving around like mapping the city with nobody in them yet, but it's just like you kind of just want to do the Olympia solution to some of the it's like. What if we all just started? I'm not advocating anything. Property destruction is very bad, but it almost makes one want to go Luddite mode and be like, no, like you can't build these things and take everybody's jobs. Like, stop it.
And like they suck. And
they suck.
Like
they're not as good as people.
They hallucinate everything. Okay.
I have only one. I was gonna stay out of this, but I have something to add to that because I think about this a lot. Oh, I like this balloon.
Oh yeah, when I do that.
Well, so I've spent a good amount of time in San Francisco. I'm not from there at all, but as like an outsider coming into that, observing, the extreme poverty, the obvious things about San Francisco, and then that robot cars, self-driving cars, Ubers, and then that is kind of both was created by the extremely wealthy, and now the extremely wealthy are moving away from that for their children and their education. And the new poverty is becoming relying on those systems that the extreme wealthy actually created to make their living is fascinating. So like those online school programs, the iPad kids, that is becoming a symbol of poverty when that initially when it was being pushed out was the extremely elite tech families.
They can bring private tutors in.
Now ditched it, and it's becoming what it is because of them.
And at their schools, they don't let the kids go on iPads. Like they invent these things and market them, but they don't use them themselves. They know that they're like toxic to the kids.
And they have the ability and the wherewithal, like the financial wherewithal to remove their kids from that. When you can't, if you're working, like you just can't.
It's like making a technological hellscape you have to buy your way out of. Kind of like to opt out of it, you have to like have money to buy your way out of like the shitty default thing that like everybody's gonna just be forced to use. And what a clever trick they pulled, like making all this money off of it and then using a thing that's gonna like eliminate everybody's jobs so they can save some money. I was just hearing on like the local news, they were treating this like it was just like a cute, like interesting story, but it was horrifying about how McDonald's has like abandoned this AI experimental program to replace like drive-through like workers, so that like you talk to like a Siri like robot and like it takes your order, but it kept malfunctioning. So they're like, now they've shelved it and they're going to go to their plan B, which is just to hire call centers in the Philippines to like work as the drive-through worker. So you'll be talking to somebody like overseas, like order your Big Mac, and then it'll like ping it back to the restaurant and somebody will cook it. But it's like, damn, like, okay, like you just really, okay, nobody's gonna have a job anymore. All right, like cool. Like one way or another, like you're gonna get rid of everybody. And the news is just like, wow, interesting. Like,
and that's true. These AI language models in general, like they're all like trained by like having a bunch of people like in the third world like sit in the computer for hours a day, like just talking to them to teach them how to respond to human beings. Like that's like part of the
trained on all of our labor, basically.
Yeah. Part of the horror of what we're going to see going forward is, I think, where the class line is going to be drawn, possibly intentionally, is along ability to like engage in like dialogue and leisure. Is that what we're going to see is that the poorer you are, the more you're like stuck with the AI, right? And the more you're trained by the AI to talk to the AI. You're going to be really good at dealing with call centers, whereas the rich are going to be able to pay to talk to people and be taught to talk to people growing up, right?
Wait, like talk about cyber, like
monopolized language.
That really speaks to like what you were just talking about in a way, Dimitri, where it's like that sort of like those social skills, like the ability,
those invisible,
like
unacknowledged
that charisma is going to be like a class signifier now. It's like, oh, why is this person so magnetic? Well, because like they were able to grow up talking to actual human beings.
Because he went to Marin Day School. That's why, like it's something like that. That's like Patricia Lilt in their voice, so, but I think it is going to be like that. That's going to be a new marker of like kind of like this Victorian like sophistication, is to be able to have the luxury to even use like poetic, non-robotic, non-utilitarian language, which given like all the crappy like subsidized tech billionaire auto fiction that seems to be coming out these days, like it all sucks. Maybe it's being written by AI, but like it's almost like they need to like knock everybody down a bunch of pegs so that their shit looks better by just being by being the only ones that have the leisure to write it, and then they can just all like go to parties and like pat themselves on the back, and have a big circle jerk. It's a dark future.
I think another kind of point that circles back into all of this is that what was kind of great about the like West Coast kind of like hippie cybernetic schools was basically that you spend all your time out in like the redwoods or something, and you probably learn something like flipping over rocks and looking for bugs, right? Even if you weren't being taught anything. But the people who maybe with good faith found that meaningful, probably not with good faith, then moved that model online and took away that actual connection from place, right?
Yeah.
So that's the whole other part of this, is that the rich will have a sense of place and the poor will be displaced. And even if they have options for creative education, it will be, out of
having taught people online, like I can do it, like, and I try to do like as good a job as I can, but it's just not the same. Like you just can't do it like the same way that you can do it like face to face, like with your actual students. Like, and we're gonna definitely be like, we're definitely gonna like as time goes on, you can already see it happening. Like that, this is gonna become a thing where it's like an expectation that you're gonna have to learn online, and it just people cannot do it. It's like you can't even have a laptop in a classroom half the time, because kids are like is distracted by everything, and it's like even undergraduates, you can have a laptop in a classroom. People can't even like when I assign like 2 movies to my students over a single day, or like not even a single day, like like if I have class on Tuesday, then I assign them a movie to watch for Thursday. It's like a struggle for them, because like they have to actually like pay attention to a film, and it's not just like a 10-second TikTok. It's like, and not to like sound like a complete boomer here, but it's like really crazy, like that I don't know, like so to actually have to teach online, it's just it's
like
crazy. But,
my mom was a special ed teacher who like she retired like after kind of the pandemic, but like she was like teaching and had to go online to like do one-on-one like special ed, like stuff during the pandemic, and like she was really emphatic like this is so bad for like these kids, like this online learning like distance shit is like it's so, especially for the kids who like need the most help and everything, like they just get totally like lost. And like I've talked to other people that are like high school like math teachers, and I remember one guy was like, oh yeah, like no, those kids in like those 2 years that like just started high school, like they were kind of lost to us. And then like the 8th graders that came in after that like had, I guess, gotten to like finish 8th grade at least, like before or after COVID or something like that. It got a little better and prepared, but like the kids who really just got thrown online, it was like it was not good for like their education on the whole. It was like this experiment
for like elementary school students that miss like 2 years of extremely important social emotional development.
So much happens with
most impactful. Like
right.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, and it's really just like living on screens is just like an absolute nightmare. Like you like want to, I don't. It's just really. Yeah, but Colin, like what you said, like about how like people need to be taught to have like a practice of enjoyment, like that, like sticks with me a lot. Like I never like thought about it that way, but that is like a good point, because I do always think about like people need to enjoy, like you need to like create the enjoyment in order for them to be. But thinking like, this is something that needs to be like taught, and. Yeah, I think that relates to this a lot, because
so that's the thesis of the free school movement and a lot of that West Coast stuff, which is again so subtly suspicious, right? So it's interesting that there's no really good side in this in a way.
Yeah.
That's rough.
No, I mean it like, but it does make sense, but I don't even know. Yeah, I can see why you can get lost in the weeds in that too as well, though, because I don't even know how you would begin to I never thought of it in that sense, but like, because I feel like I just have been interested in certain things, but I don't know, but maybe I don't think that's necessarily the case for and like there are certain things we need to learn that maybe you're not interested in that are still valuable to know. So I don't know, but it is interesting. Like, so I think doing something about Summerhill could be cool, maybe.
Absolutely.
Check it out.
We'd love to look into it. All right. I think we're gonna move on, but thanks so much for calling in, guys.
Yeah, we're just gonna,
I think we got
nice to meet both of you. Thanks for dropping in. Yeah.
All right. We got River coming up, and then there's a Zoom user and homework. Oh, okay, River.
All right,
I think might be joining, and. Okay, this is it. I think we're officially cutting it off after that. Nobody else who joins. What's up?
Okay.
River, how's it going?
Hey, River.
Hey. This is actually perfect timing because I was about to go to sleep anyway.
Oh, great.
What a deep resonant voice you have. Have you considered a career in podcasting?
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it actually. I'm working towards it.
Yeah.
You could have tricked us into saying you were Jimmy. I think. Jimmy Fallon. You could have done it.
Yeah. It's very, very deep. Yeah. I guess like, it's
right
weird.
Bass note.
Yeah, I always thought Jimmy had a great podcast voice, but it's weird when sometimes I see people complain about Jimmy's voice. I guess,
they think he uses a vocoder, and like if he did, like he was hiding it when I like zoomed with him for like hours. Like he's just a big guy. Like
I mean, like I don't think that it's anyway, whatever.
Anyways,
so sorry.
Anyways, what's up?
Okay, so I wrote down like 3 things I wanted to talk about, and I can make them pretty quick. So
oh no.
My first one is
we got it. Okay,
generally anyone who's cool. My first thing is generally anyone who's listening, like I'd like to crowdsource intelligence on any connection between UK intelligence and St. Louis, Missouri. It's related to research I'm doing, but I can't find anything. So if anyone knows anything about that, that would be super useful.
All right.
So generally throwing
St.
that
Louis.
out there.
Let anybody,
yeah, very, very sus, but I'm not exactly sure how. So then my second thing I wanted to say is more of like an emotional thing. I've just been like reading a lot about the MENA region recently, and you know, the Iran-Iraq war, and a lot about Iraq, and you know, I feel very ashamed when I read it because you know, growing up in the Iraq war and being totally ignorant about Iraq, and then you read about Iraq, and all of these people from Yale and Phillips Andover, like literally creating ISIS in front of everyone, like straight up, like being warned, like, hey, like this is going to create like a military organization and you shouldn't do this. And like,
like firing all the Ba'athist officers and like torturing all of them in Abu Ghraib, and like all those guys went through Camp Bucca, etc.
And Paul Bremer is just like, I know, like that's the fucking plan. And
that's some motherfucking anarcho-colonialism. Let's break it. You know what I mean? Like, let's not preserve. Like, they have to act like they're going to preserve it, but actually, like, the point is to break the country, like, completely break the country and make it like unrebuildable. Which to this day it is like barely functioning. You know what I mean? Like, it's still like a kind of, I hate to say it, like a failed state, to quote Chomsky, but it's like it's been held in that position. Sorry, go on. But no, you're totally right.
Good. Like you know, they were kind of at this place, I feel like, where they're playing all of these sides against one another, and you know, they're really good at it, but they're like, we can't go any further with this. Like, we can't, like, okay, we're maintaining all of them as not able to go beyond the status of a regional power, but like, we need to do imperialism harder. Like, what's the way we do it? Okay, let's create this, like, you know, I don't even know how to describe ISIS, just this like loose, like transnational, you know, military that can fuck up everything.
At least the core group, I think, was what the remnants of like Zarqawi's like Islamic State, which again, it's like air quotes and all of that. And then they sort of teamed up with like the al-Nusra Front, which is sort of like the Al-Qaeda affiliate in Syria that, you know, was I think, at this point, like a lot heavily armed by like the weapons that were smuggled out of Libya after NATO destroyed that country, you know, and looted it. You know, there were those rat lines that then armed them. And then they like came together as sort of ISIS or ISIL or whatever. And then I think it was 2013, they had their like official split. But then when you start to get talking about like the ISIS, like ISIS in Khorasan region, like ISIS in Mali, and like ISIS in like Nigeria, it's like, okay, or, you know, Boko Haram, which is kind of like the affiliate, and popping up in all of these different places all of a sudden is like little affiliates, and really kind of like a professional like Contra army with like a really slick PR operation. But sorry, continue.
No, don't be sorry.
I'm remembering all this stuff now because I like read about it so much like years ago, and it really did make my brain just like spin with like the pure like cynicism and evil of it all, you know?
Yeah. And
to do imperialism harder.
Yeah. And you know, I don't know, just feeling like really ashamed reading about that, and that like I don't know about it. But so that's like an emotional thing. And then the last thing I have is like, gotta watch out on the left for all of the Yagos who position themselves in points of conflict, and you know, I'm not gonna name any names, but like are really good at controlling the narratives of when a split happens within a leftist organization. Like they control the historiography of why that split occurred, so that nobody learns any useful lessons from it. And you know, what you guys do is really useful because I mean, the the intellectual, like, I guess, like, I don't know what to call them, like thought leaders in the US, like, they're all so sus, and like, you know, watch out also for the bookstores. Like, start looking into the bookstores, start looking into who owns them, start looking into what nonprofits they work with, look into who their parents are.
Okay, yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. I mean, I think in New York I could think of some examples of what you're talking about.
I can think of some in many places.
Oh yeah,
like,
maybe Los Angeles.
I'm thinking mid-Atlantic actually, but I can think of New York as well. There are lots of places. Like, look at these people, look at if they are involved with, I don't know, like John Brown Gun Club or something like that, and maybe they are connected to old money, and maybe they come from old Mayflower families.
What is up with? Oh, I'm glad you said that, because I kind of coined this term, I think maybe like a year and a half ago, but like the Mayflower Maoists. Like, what's up with these guys? What like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but I think that's what you're talking about, right? Like these. I think there's one particular person I can think of who's very edgy. What's that?
Say they're Maoists.
The ones I'm thinking of aren't Maoists.
Well, yeah, I guess I would put that in heavy air quotes. It's just alliterative, but like really, they're maybe more anarchist, like sort of like mutual aid anarchist types. But I can think of a couple of very edgy examples of the type of people that you're talking about, and some of them hide it to varying degrees and kind of put on this like character role. And it's like, I don't want to like trick myself too much and say like, oh, they must be like a Fed, because like people like that from Mayflower old money, like they don't get like hired as like off the street. I'm not saying never, but like as like low rent, like FBI informant, like infiltrate, like they're on a different social strata. And like they wouldn't be approached in that way. Just the same way like a rich white guy is not going to get like his door kicked in if he's a white collar criminal, but somebody of color is going to get, you know, the full SWAT team treatment kind of thing. Like it's if they end up being an asset, it's going to be probably more of a soft, informal like touch, and maybe like involve more just like psychological manipulation, where these people end up like fulfilling a role, right? Like through their actions that maybe like they're not even like fully consciously aware of, but maybe sometimes they are. I don't know. What do you think about that? Oh, do we freeze?
It's hard not to speak in vagaries, because I don't want to say like too much specifically, but like I'm in an area, there's a bookstore. They are not making enough money to pay their rent. I know that for a fact. The person who is running it, I know that, like, I'm like 90% sure that their father is CIA, and you know, okay, I get it. Like, people have sus parents or whatever. Like, I'm no exception to that, right? Like, you know, I'm looking at stuff in St. Louis. Your father was, you know, privy to high-level meetings between the KCIA and North Korean intelligence. And when he's also on the board of your nonprofit, and he's like a high-level board member, like, that raises like it's a existing connection. And you know, it's like I've got a paper trail, and like I don't want to like mess with these people, but at the same time, it does seem like where I'm at, because you know, you have sort of members of the elite who on a higher level are together, and then their offspring are supposedly, you know, anti-fascists and also fascists. And it just like, it cannot, like, there's no end to the paranoia. And like where I'm at, like it feels like a like a practice ground for counterinsurgency, basically. Like it's not a huge city, right?
Okay.
It's like big enough. And
Mid-Atlantic, you said?
Mid-Atlantic. I can, if you DM me, I can tell you.
I'd love to know more off air. Yeah.
And also, I've got, you can check me out on Twitter, River to Reality. I'm starting a podcast or whatever.
Oh, sick.
I think I've seen you on Twitter before. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've been trying to like post and get engagement because I want followers, because I want to like, before I start putting myself out there, I want to like have a little bit of followers rather so it doesn't fall flat. You know what I mean? But I've recorded like the entire Program to Kill audiobook, which was not fun to record.
Oh no, that's a heavy lift. That's cool.
That is a heavy lift. So, you know, if you want to check it out, feel free to check it out on there, and you can DM me on there, and I can give you more details about
absolutely.
the crazy shit that I've seen.
It's funny. Just a second ago, we got some like interference in your connection. So we're like, there were like words dropping out of what you said, or it was just like KCI negotiated with like the CIA and like the North Koreans, and like says not a big deal, but so just to be clear, you're saying that like there's a person with a bookstore whose father is like a career CIA guy that was like involved in like sort of high, like intense negotiations between like South Korean intelligence and like North Korea.
You know, what I've found from him, he's currently working for like a law firm doing stuff with like land disputes between Ethiopia and Eritrea. And
wow.
But back in the day, in like the late 60s, which is like only like 10 years after the establishment of the KCIA, you know, he's writing about meetings and now released documents between the head of the
interesting how every time
CIA, right? And North Korea.
All right, I think I got all of that. Yeah.
You're saying, Khaled?
Oh, I was just saying that it's interesting how every time you say the word KCIA, you coincidentally cut out.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's actually, significant, but just being suspicious. But I think it's interesting. Bookstores really are like a important hub for like, politically like engaged, like, kind of like intellectually curious people to like gather and like form community a lot of the time. So it is interesting, like to look into.
I think I might know the city you're talking about. I don't know if there's a way to talk about it without hints, but a city without a lot of tall buildings. Oh my God, the suspense.
Yeah. I mean, DM me and, you'll...
All right.
Right. I'll say less. Okay, we definitely will. I just followed you on Twitter, so yeah. We'll definitely.
I wanted to say also, like, there's no need to feel ashamed about like not knowing things that like what an authority ever told you. Like it's not like I mean, I guess we all carry like a sort of collective guilt in that like we are like paying our taxes and like putting our labor into a society that like perpetrated these crimes, but.
For sure.
Don't let the guilt over that like consume you. I mean, I guess maybe some guilt, some sense of responsibility is a good thing, but there's no need to be swallowed by it.
Yeah. It's got to push you, not consume you.
Exactly. And focusing on like the how many lies had to be told to like get you to like not even notice that like that was happening. Kind of. Like notice what was really happening. There's a lot of effort put into it, and this system kind of like perpetuates that. But I think letting it motivate you, letting it fuel you is good.
Sorry.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
All right.
Well,
we're gonna
you said quickly move on. We have Zoom
two more
user
people,
here.
Right? Is that
Zoom user and homework sucks? But
I'm fading here. I'm fading here. All right, we got
okay.
Good to meet you, River. Yeah, good luck with your podcast.
Take care,
guys. We'll follow up with you on Twitter. Yeah.
Right on.
Right. Bye-bye.
Peace.
Okay. Zoom. We'll see if Zoom user, mysterious Zoom user. Okay.
Okay, this is the
Who
second
could they
to
be?
last.
Who could Tim
fading
User
here.
be?
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, this is Dave. I cut out before when I hopped on. Yeah, so sorry about that. My phone.
Oh, it's Dave.
Oh,
Yeah,
what's up?
Nice.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was like playing Elden Ring, and then I heard my name called. Shit, I'm up now, and then my phone decided to shit the bed. But so I had to hop on
Yeah,
my.
there's no pause button, as I heard on Twitter. So
yeah, you just gotta go for him.
Yeah, I had to kind of go, but no, man, I was just congrats on the 200th episode. I've been listening for a minute now. I've been a member on the Patreon since I think June 2021.
Wow. Thank you so much.
That's really
So, and I kind of want to just kind of like was sort of similar to like the first caller that you had, more of like kind of like a general question about kind of just like my development of my political shaping throughout like post-COVID, like pre-COVID and post-COVID, and like like pre-COVID, pretty much very apolitical, didn't really care, Bernie guy, and then once COVID hit, everybody's in the house, and one of the things that I always loved was podcasts about like the paranormal, Bigfoot, UFOs, all that good shit, but when you kind of poke around in that and you kind of go a bit more than the past the surface level, you obviously realize it's a lot of like, racial anti-Semitic BS once you kind of get a little past the surface, right? So that's when I found you guys, is when you guys did the episode with what was it? With Mickey Rourke. He narrated that show.
Yeah, the Bob Lazar. The Bob Lazar.
Bob Lazar one.
Yeah. I still think about that all the time.
And then you kind of think about that, right? And it's just the more you think about it, the more sus you realize as it gets, right? And then what really killed it for me was when those QAnon guys got really into the UFO sphere. So it was like it was getting co-opted into the right. And then I read this book called Space Saucers, Spooks, and Kooks, USO Information in the Age of Aquarius. And basically, long story short, it kind of discusses, essentially like these intelligence operatives were going into these, UFO conferences.
Right.
Like, so it was just like, so it's just like, oh, that's interesting. Why are they so interested in that? So, you know why? It's because they want to dump more military funding in there. And the way I wanted to kind of tie this in was, with your parapolitical episode, your parapolitics episode from a couple of days, how, one of the things you guys were kind of worried about was exposing folks to like, I guess, esoteric topics. I don't know if UFO is an esoteric topic, but different topics that necessarily wouldn't be covered on the left. But when you think about it, you can really apply any sort of left lens to anything, really, because like when you look at these like UFO, like these guys like these Richard Doty's, right, and it's just like these big scary, like we got to pour more and more money into the defense sector, and then when you think about it, right, then these like machines, they're over there bombing people in Gaza, because it's like they're pouring all this money into this, into the military industrial complex. And so I just kind of wanted to, it was not really a question, but just kind of like, I'd like to kind of hear your extended thoughts on like, other topics such as that, where it's just like, on the surface level, a lot of right-wing folks, right? You might think about it, when you think deeper, you think more politically about it, there's definitely like a better angle that you can think of. And before I kind of pass it back to you guys, I'm re-listening to the series that Jimmy did with Wendy Painting about aberration. And when you think about that, right, it's just like Pat Conn and all that stuff, but when you go deep down into it, it's all these groups were getting infiltrated, and there was a lot of provocative folks getting provocative, like what's what I'm looking for, like a lot of provocative
provocation.
Thank you. Yes.
Provocateur activity.
Thank you. Yeah. So it kind of just like, I know I'm kind of all over the place, but that was one of the things I was kind of thinking about. It was just like, the surface level, it's a lot of labeling, but when you get down to it, it really all boils down to like, some class stuff. So I guess I want to just pass it back to you guys and say like, just if you, I don't know, just riff a bit about like, I think what you guys are doing is awesome because you provide good in-depth context to a lot of stuff that other stuff that we want to, other bigger podcasts obviously aren't going to touch because it's like too like quote unquote wacky. But I like that you guys can go there and you can shine a light on it and be like, no, you just got to look at it through the right lens, So that was kind of it, and
No, yeah, and I didn't want to, in our sort of meta parapolitics episode that we were kind of like, talking about some of that stuff, like I didn't want to give any credence necessarily to the argument that, like, especially like that type of topic, like, UFOs or the paranormal in general, I didn't want to give any credence to the idea that, like, oh, because right-wing people talk about that, therefore if you talk about that, you're right-wing. But I did see people like say that, and I did see people like take that seriously in, maybe in the context of like some other like, bullshit or innuendo or whatever. And I understand why, people see like, oh, it's not. Yeah. And I think that you're right. Like the people, like when you, like on a certain level, like people maybe see like, oh, this is like, cause there's so much of this tradition of like this idea of materialism and stuff like that, where people see like you're talking about a ghost or you're talking about a UFO or anything like that, or you're talking about a werewolf, then people are like, oh, that's, fairy tales, that's idealistic, it's not materialism, so therefore like it can't be leftist, and it's all like smoke and mirrors, and it's all like a limited hangout, or like I don't know, whatever. Like, and I think that like, but the fact is that like, there was like a massive DoD like funded like project to like investigate dogmen that were like running around, like literally like more, almost like as much if not more than like all this sort of thing with the New York Times and Leslie Kane or Kane, like that stuff that was like, oh, there's a black budget project to investigate UFOs. That was just as much about werewolves, that was just as much about dogmen as it was about UFOs. They like made it about UFOs to say that, to try to make it more palatable to like the NYT audience, this sort of like, bougie, like slightly curious NYT audience. But like really, like when you, if you look into it a bit more, you see like this had to do with a lot of different things. Yeah. And I think that like, it's something that people are, they're, as you said, like you always, and I'm the same way. Like I always love that, like my whole life, the paranormal stuff like that. Like it's something that's fundamentally fascinating and many people are fascinated by it. And so like, that's the thing. Like if you just like gonna cede that territory to people who are gonna be like saying, oh, the real thing is like Tucker Carlson, if you're gonna let the only person who's talking about like what like the sort of John Keel take on UFOs is Tucker Carlson, like that's like then you're just ceding something that people are like like are very powerfully drawn to. Like you're not going to be able to stop like just people from being fascinated by like whether they're like people live on after they die, or whether there's something beyond a world beyond like what our empirical senses can perceive. You're not going to be able to stop people from being fascinated by the idea of a dog man or something, like, but you are going to be able to like actually look into what is going, like why is this something that like what is sustaining this fascination, like for instance with Bigfoot, like Ivan Sanderson, stuff like that, like there are like very like fascinating, very deep like historical factors that like sustain this fascination. And it's I guess dialectical in a way where like the deep sort of primordial or like really transhistorical interest in this is creating this sort of a material infrastructure around these things, or institutional and political infrastructure around these things. But also, that infrastructure is like shaping and sustaining that kind of fascination and controlling the discourse around it. So also participating in a discourse around it is also important, and talking about it is also important, because the way these things are discoursed is powerful. If you can control the way that those things are talked about and the way that these phenomena that happen are understood, then you have a lot of power. So I don't think it's good to like cede that power to Tucker or whoever, So,
like to have folks just kind of like shit code it is just like it just defeats the whole purpose. Because even if like like you guys did the episodes which were awesome about like the leprechauns and that like that was great. And even if it's just like just discussing folklore and culture, there's still a significant net positive in discussing that, because it's just exposing yourself to different cultures. And it just I love those episodes that you guys did. And obviously too, kind of like tying into like like just everything else, right? It really kind of all boils down to like now I can't watch I can't like watch TV and like you see all these like like all these like Patriot Front guys doing all these protests, and I can't think to myself like how many feds are in there. My like whole my like whole worldview has been kind of shaped, but I think it's for the better, because you make yourself more aware of of what's going on when you kind of do like read of a deeper history, and just applying that to those more like out of there, like UFO, Bigfoot topics. It's just like, I don't know, it's something that I feel like your podcast has done like an awesome job at. It's just kind of looking at something like through a different lens, but it's not like a shit coat lens. It's just like, it's kind of like how like art, like like a lot of us kind of dig Art Bell, and it was just like, some of the folks, right, they would just spill nonsense.
Right, exactly. He
let them talk. He let them, it was like almost like a therapy for them, but it's still interesting to listen to. It also provides really interesting pockets into the 90s. And I know I'm kind of
no. I think you sound very cogent, and I definitely appreciate your kind words about the podcast. I'm glad
me too. That's what we try to do. That's I think definitely we try to do.
Yeah, that was that. I know you guys have been on here a minute, so
take the next call. No, I appreciate that as well. I appreciate that as well. That. Good to.
All right, thanks for calling in. Peace. All right,
thanks.
Last caller.
Okay, here we go.
All right, here we go.
Homework sucks.
This is it. We did it.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see if Homework Sucks is gonna log on. And
we got Homework Sucks.
Hello.
You can unmute yourself, Homework Sucks, if you desire.
Hi. Sorry.
Hey, what's up?
Good. Hey, how's it going? So sorry to be very last minute.
No.
So I'm a very big fan of your guys. I think I've talked to you in DMs like a few times a long time ago. I probably kind of really schizo, but so I was going to ask you. So you're like, I think it was like your 13th episode. You guys talked about you guys had 2 episodes about the whole like O9A and stuff like that. So
it was 14 and 15.
Our 13th episode was with the number 13,
right?
Numbers in general. But right. Because I was like, oh wow, that's a deep cut. But anyway, sorry. Continue. And this one kind of is as well.
So like that was back in 2020. So I was wondering, because I think I might have DM'd you guys like randomly, like maybe sometime after that. But I was wondering, have you guys kind of been still following the kind of fallout of like O9A's connection to all these different groups, all the different kind of like neo-Nazi groups, like there's
Adam Waffen and
Adam Waffen and stuff, and
then
there's
base.
like Krieg and Sonnenkrieg and all these just kind of like goofy little groups right now, but it's kind of like filtered down. So I don't know if you guys saw all those news articles about these kind of like these like really like sadistic like networks on Telegram, such as like 764 and stuff like that.
I've heard about that.
So basically so like I've been kind of like on this beat like pretty deep for a while now. So I guess I was wondering like have you guys noticed this kind of like, so the kind of overall pattern is like, kind of like any kind of politics aside, it's kind of just there's this phenomenon of using just extreme violence, like there's all these like gore communities. There's communities that are obsessed with gore, self-harm, like all like there's a pro-Ana, pro-me, like there's all the like pro like anorexia and stuff. So there's just this like kind of like convergence of all these different networks kind of all combining too. And so right now it's totally beyond any kind of political angle, but there is like, because as we know, I'm sure you guys saw this too, but so the guy Joshua Caleb Sutter, he was the head of the kind of American O9A, which is called the Detective of Blood. So so he's been an FBI informant. It was like confirmed in court documents. So he's kind of the nexus of a lot of this stuff, much more so than that guy David Myatt, who's who's still pretty active on Twitter. And honestly, I kind of think he's totally like, he kind of doesn't really matter anymore. He's old and washed out. But so this
right. Exactly. I think he's kind of like retired. Much more of like a very.
It seems kind of like he did retire, and that like. People kind of ran with his thing of like, oh, I never had anything to do with this, and like, I guess that was kind of what he wanted all along, was people to take it in their own direction. And so
it was this distributed idea thing, and like it's interesting we were talking about ISIS earlier, because I feel like that was another thing that was like very noticeable about ISIS, and it was like these ultra violent like gore videos they would produce and then publish all over social media, and then kind of use it as like a calling card for like troubled people online that would like become kind of obsessed with it, according to different cases I've read, and kind of get fixated on it, and it's like a beacon calling out to like troubled people who are kind of sick to like, come on, like come fight. And it's really dark shit.
And so so we're seeing that like that's exactly what's going on right now. And so like right now it's kind of gone beyond. Again, like the reason why I kind of emphasize it's not really political anymore is because I see like people who talk about this stuff, they're kind of so obsessed about trying to kind of like slot it into like far right or far left. And I think I remember even you mentioned in your episode how like there's a lot of pictures of Joshua Caleb Sutter. So he's like, you know, he has like these like shrines to like Stalin and stuff and Beria, which again, like, you know, as kind of a takey myself is very offensive.
I take umbrage with that. Yeah. It's kind of like he worships like the anti-communist like caricature of Stalin as like the most evil guy ever. Like he loves like that version. Yeah. Right. It's fucking annoying. So again, you can see like him deliberately tries to like just find any kind of it really is more just about, I mean, it's kind of actually a pretty simple motivation in that sense that it is evil for its own sake, and a lot of people evil maxing.
Yeah, exactly. Evil maxing. Yeah, so I guess, but like, so we can kind of see like there is this sort of like trend of just like using this like extreme desensitization methods, and it's kind of like, you know, because again, like we saw like I know. I don't know if it was you guys. I think it might have been Boltzmann or that guy Boltzmann Booty.
Yeah, Boltzmann Booty. Shout out.
He was talking about how like I think in this set. I mean, I'm sure that was part of MK Ultra in general, but like there was like back in the '60s in the Navy, they were doing like those kind of like they'd show people just like
that was the story I think of like Commander Thomas Norut, who I think people have kind of like there was like a London Sunday Times article that was written about this, and then the story was like kind of squashed. I think this was in it was definitely in Bowert's Operation Mind Control. Might have definitely been in Program to Kill as well. But it was this guy that talked about how like, we have like a secret it was a Navy doctor who said, I was involved in this program in Italy where we would take in Navy guys, sometimes like from the brig, people with disciplinary problems who might be kind of flagged for like more sociopathic kind of tendencies, and strap them down like fucking Clockwork Orange or Parallax View and show them like, you know, like animals being slaughtered, like war footage from Vietnam, like Nazi atrocities, like horrible atrocity, and then like hook them up to like an EEG or something like that, and like study their response to it, like, and I think perhaps also to see if you could like kind of desensitize, like if you show them it over time, will they kind of just get used to it? And I think we had also talked once about how later on it was reported that the Nexium cult in upstate New York was also, I think, Nancy Salzman, like the other, you know, the woman that was like co-running it, was arranging these like quote unquote scientific experiments with members of the cult where they would pretty much do that. Like they would hook them up to like a brainwave machine and then play them like, I don't know, live leak videos and like snuff films and like people getting killed and like getting crushed to death, you know, and just horrible things to test like their trauma response, and for some kind of, you know, supposed like revolutionary scientific purpose, but like sounds like MK Ultra pretty much, and like the same shit that that Norut mentioned. That's like, it's a very vague story. It seems like, I think people try to like brush it off as like, oh, that never happened, but I think the article's real. I mean, like this guy kind of dropped off the map after that. I guess he, I don't know, said too much. But I do think, you know, like, you know, remember Elsa Gate, Khalid?
Yeah, of course.
Remember like the Florida shooter, the Parkland shooter, how he just had like those playlists that were like body cam action footage from like Iraq and Afghanistan, and like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, like Elsa Gate videos for like hours and hours and hours. And I don't like, some of this stuff can have a weird hypnotic effect if you're not in a good state of mind already. And you know, it's like we talked at the beginning about the blue wave people. Like we think they're real, but like what the fuck has happened to them? You know what I mean? Like like it's like they're acting like zombies. Like there's like no, like must destroy. Or you know, other types of people on Twitter that kind of act like a horde, you know, like a hive. It's very strange.
Yeah, so I don't know. It just so again, it's just like this. I don't want to like harp on this too much because this is like this is the kind of like modern. I mean, like this is what Dave McGowan was talking about. But like we're kind of seeing, and actually like I've talked to Josh McCaleb Sutter multiple times. He's still active online and stuff. And I mean, like the account he's talking on, he doesn't know that I know it's him, and I guess I don't know 100%. That it's him, you know what I mean? But so I mean, like these people are still out there, and then not only that. So I guess I'll close on this to not keep you guys forever. But there's another curious guy named Brett Stevens, and so he actually is a current administrator of the O9A.org website, and so he's big in the whole like incel, like in the whole like all the kind of like incel communities, like very specifically. There's like a kind of spin-off incel site that's called Sanctioned Suicide. So it's basically a way of kind of like they're basically just kind of like encouraging these young men to be hopeless. So and he's the guy who actually he coined the term black pill, or I mean I guess he claims to at least, but that's kind of his main like philosophy. Yeah, it's just this
interesting.
Like, again, it's just this so this idea of just this like it is mind control way of just like it's just this like really negative vibes. And again, and the fact that these guys all like worship Satan. I mean, it's like that's kind of how Satan really, like Satan.
Yes, I mean this is satanic.
Exactly
like,
right.
This is fucking satanic.
Satanism.
Like, I don't care if Satan doesn't exist. It's satanic in my book.
Yeah,
like
that is Satanism. Like whatever you want, like whatever they call themselves, whatever. Like they might call themselves Satanists. They might not, but like. Whatever these people are up to is Satanism, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah,
and it's sus. It's very sus. I don't like it.
So bleak, and just the fact that we don't. And actually, again, so and then with Josh McCaleb Sutter, he's been spotted with guys. There's a 2018 video of him and Adam Waffen members at this big Azov meetup, like Azov Italian.
Right. Oh yeah, they're pro NATO, of course. Like
yeah. That's the funny thing is like I've talked to so many guys who all like they either like are LARPing as like fighting over there, or they actually did go over there to fight Russia. But it's just so bizarre how all these like crazy siege pill dudes all end up just being pro NATO, like when finding accounts. They're also a lot of these guys are actually all they're all very anti-Palestine, very pro Israel. I don't know again if that's just shock value sake or
yeah.
Really matter.
No, I think there's definitely something going on, even with like the weird
that,
kind of
like,
alt-right sphere
too. Like and that like BAP is kind of like less extreme than these people, but it's still that same kind of like Nietzschean like pro. I think actually one of Jordan's questions was talking about that like weird like Nietzschean suicide note manifesto for that guy at Harvard. But yeah, like I think that type, it's weird like how they're like all those people, I guess like they're so. Like they're such like Nietzschean like Bronze Age like pro-Western like Nazis that they loop back around to being Zionists. Although I guess in a way it makes sense because like maybe they perceive Israel as being like whiter or more civilized. I don't know. You'd think that like people who are like so into that type of thing would be like anti-Semitic above all else, but maybe not necessarily, especially not in this day and age.
Yeah, I mean, like
that was even true of Nazis after World War II. They kind of shifted to like working with Israel under certain circumstances.
Right.
Like, not all.
Not even during World War II was all Nazis be like, because they kind of had compatible goals in a certain way. That's what some Zionists thought that way for sure too.
Yeah, the whole thing is just it's always wild shit. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how deep you guys are kind of been following that stuff, but yeah,
we're definitely keeping an eye on it. It's something that I definitely could see us revisiting one day soon because they certainly have like our original concern with the O9A and our interest in it certainly has like panned out as like a fruitful thing to be like watching. Or to be keeping an eye on. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And yeah, it's come up again and again, and its influence seems to only be growing. So it's something to possibly revisit down the line too.
Definitely. There's some academic stuff I'm finding right now. That stuff has been written in like the last year or two about.
Yeah, because we really only talked about like David Meid and like kind of scratched the surface like of the, and I think that's a good like foundation to build on because there's like a lot of recent stuff too with it, and it's
a lot of bloody crazy drama happened between like 2021 and like now, basically.
Absolutely.
So I mean, there's the one thing I'll finally end on is just I would say to really focus more on Joshua Caleb Sutter than like David Maya, just because Sutter really is the kind of nexus of so much of this horrible stuff, and so I really think he is one of the worst people in the world.
Okay. Word.
He's like,
Yeah.
Noted. I'll even put his name in the workflowy for like future reference. Yeah.
He's referenced in the Southern Poverty Law Center going back to 2004. Extremist ex-cons back on the street, and he was doing weird stuff like with. Let's see. I think he was with the. Let me see. The Aryan Nations.
The Rural People's Party was actually.
Oh, the Jim Jones like Juche thing, right?
Yeah. So again, so the reason why like I was kind of trying to follow his case too is just because like every few years he'll always start again, because he's been exposed as an FBI informant many times, and every time he stops, kind of hibernates, and then comes back as some new kind of entity, and that's happening right now. Even though too, and so I don't know if you're familiar with the guy Jake Hanrahan, but so Jake Hanrahan,
the Popular Front guy.
Yeah. So Sutter was active as this account called Agony's Point Press, and so he was kind of building up a kind of a following too. And so so it was Jake Hanrahan who kind of exposed him and stuff. And so he ended up deleting his Twitter, but he's still around, kind of just like causing trouble too. So I'm kind of like so I'm kind of on that beat, trying to make sure. I don't know. Like I have this vigilante fantasy of just of trying to like stop his influence on certain people, because his whole MO is just finding, as you said, all these kind of like messed up young people and just kind of applying them with all this like violent material, bad ideology. Also, and the other thing is like that. I don't know how. I probably shouldn't say this out loud, or use these words so you guys don't flag. But like, there is lots of material involving abuse of young people, which is also like the other kind of like missing piece of all stuff, which makes it even more. Because it's like they're obsessed with evil for its own sake.
Absolutely, and you even see that like boil down to the more palatable, like the Tealite Dime Square thing is like this bordering on like the Lolita weird, like, you know what I'm saying, like that kind of weird shit. This is just like the really hard stuff but I feel like it's on the same continuum of like these ideas both lead to the same places of like kind of total nihilism, and like it is true Satanism, and like what better career than to be like a lying FBI informant that just like traps people because he's bad.
Yeah, I really think that BAP is someone who like that is the Bronze Age pervert, is someone who is like, talk about a pipeline. Like he's just a watered down version of the same shit in my mind.
And then once he gets exposed as like a chubby Zionist, like hiding out in Brazil doing sex tourism, then his like dejected followers will go looking for like an even more like Bronze Age Chad Nazi, and then they might find this bozo and then get entrapped in a FBI plot. But it is kind of like the last train stop is just like pure like sicko nihilistic Satanism for not even kind of beyond like any even political or like even religious purpose. It's just and
actually like so like in like Russia, there's this other kind of affiliated spin-off that's called a maniac murder cult, MK or MKU MMC. It depends if you're using the depending like which transliteration you're using. So there's this group that's also like they're also totally like affiliated with Temple of Blood. It's kind of like the next spin-off too, but they're responsible for actual like murders and stuff, and that feels very Gladio, because you have just this weird network.
If you needed a Gladio network, like these are the types of people you would want, right? Like people that are kind of like into the idea of being like bad and kill and transgressing and shit like that, are willing to like have no real values. Like they're, I mean, these are all the, you think about the core Gladio motherfuckers. Like I almost don't even want to give them like as much credit. I know they had their crazy ideologies and like fascism, but they're also just like little fucking worms that like, oh no, the Nazis invaded, and like I'm gonna like radically kiss their asses and like suck up to them and like genocide my fellow like countrymen, in order to like impress them. So I could be like at the master base table too, and it's like these are just like sick fucking like cowardly, weak people.
So I've actually I talked to one of the individuals. It's a guy who goes by Butcher, Commander Butcher. He claimed to me he actually killed 50 people. I think he's based in Georgia. Georgia in the that's
the Republic of Georgia. Okay.
Yeah, and so it's all very Eastern European too, and so I don't believe he's killed 50 people, but I know his friend, or like the former leader, a guy named something Krasnov, Yegor Krasnov. He's actually already been arrested for murdering several homeless people too. But yeah, so again, it's like they like kind of LARP as Nazis, but again, it's like for them it's like they don't care if they're white, white, Aryan, Georgian, Slavic, whatever. It's like it's all they care about is just killing. It's so messed up, man. I don't know.
Bad. It's pretty bad. It's not the direction so-called advanced civilization should be heading in, but it feels like that's growing rather than getting stomped out forever. Being abolished, as our society produces people that can even get kind of like sucked into this type of thing. But
there's more and more too.
Well, stay vigilant out there. Be careful, because these people are actually pretty bad. But I think we might return and do kind of like an update on that to kind of fill out the the last few years of American Satanism. I feel like the Satanic Temple has also taken a bit of a hit since we started Subliminal Jihad.
Mm-hmm.
Like they've had like lawsuits, infighting. To think we were so afraid once upon a time, but not really so much anymore. So I guess that'll do. I think we're going to sign off now. But thank you for being the last caller.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you, and thanks to everybody who called in. Thank you,
everybody,
who's been with us through this long haul in the chat for
absolutely 55 people. 55 people still listening in. Thank all of you. This is super fun. What a nice 200th episode experience.
Yeah,
I think we did just under 6 hours.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I might have to chop it in two, but put the audio out. But everybody that called in today was like so tight.
Yeah,
and had a really interesting question. So very exciting.
And I'm sorry to Jordan that we didn't get to the chat questions, but maybe we'll address this later on. I know he brought up Donnie Darko or something.
There's something about Donnie Darko. We might have gotten a Q&A question about that. Movie. It is kind of a sus movie. Like there's a lot going on there. I wouldn't be opposed to rewatching it and combing it for susness. But I think now we're finally gonna sign off.
I'm fading. So
that was very late where you are. But I think
probably to some of our Gen Z listeners, it's like funny to call the time that it is here late, but still it's
almost
late
midnight.
No,
it's all right. But thanks to the chat, thanks to everybody that called in, everybody that supported us, and I guess here's the next 100 or 200 episodes, vigilantly numbered, like 1 for 1 this time. So we might get to 300 sooner than you think.
I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to doing this again at like 250.
This is actually fun.
Maybe.
It's fun. Maybe I don't know if once a month is too frequent, but it is. It is,
you don't want to lose the specialness, but
we don't want to lose the specialness.
Maybe,
But maybe quarterly, maybe a quarterly check-in or something like that.
We could, We'll
also, depending on once we pivot into heckin' election coverage mode. Just kidding.
Exactly.
Don't want that shit.
Once we,
but we will have to talk about it probably somewhat.
Your daily.
I'll get my whiteboard out and start mapping the electoral votes and
exactly.
Kamala can win.
Pure vibes. Bernie's gonna take South Carolina. Anyway.
Anyways, we're gonna leave it there. Thank you all again, and until next time, dear listeners, stay vigilant.
Peace.